Tyrion. And this is the sort of thing, if you don't pay attention, you don't notice, but it kind of rewards you paying attention. Like, you know, the quest to get the blade in Howling Fjord, and how that ties in with Tyrion. Like, you don't even talk to Tyrion, you're working for, like, another guy that Tyrion is there with, but your actions have an impact on Tyrion. He sort of goes and does his thing, having a big conversation with you. You are an adventurer rather than, you know, the hero, rather than being the champion. And that does actually, to me, feel like a nice breaking pace. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. To be honest, like, we've got Wrath Classic, I'm sure there's things playing back. Could be overall, right? And Wrath was the peak of the game. I mean, or at least it's probably added, like, a good many 100,000. Millions probably sitting on the views, but we can be pretty sure that it's pretty damn popular. So that's been really cool. Of course, there is Season 4 in the live game right now. We've got pre-patch at the end of October, and just 4 weeks after that, a month after that, we've got Dragonflight, and then Dragonflight supposedly will have smaller but more frequent patches on account of Blizzard's larger development team, so even that sounds pretty good. I don't know, it's weird. I don't think I'm huffing copium. I'm just, like, actually having fun with WoW every time I play it. I'm either healing in my Priest, playing Discipline in some Mythic Plus dungeons. I know that's off meta, but fuck it, I think Disc is cool, so I'm playing it. That's really fun. I'm a Hunter in Wrath. Dragonflight stuff's actually shaping up really good. There we go. That sure hasn't been the narrative for the last, I don't know, 5 years, but it's pretty damn refreshing that it seems to be what's going on now. Of course, for all things, only time will tell, but overall, I'm actually feeling quite good, feeling quite positive about things, and that is a lovely change in pace. So, that's what's up. And of course, if you'd like to support the team and get some very cool loot for yourself, you can check out the Patreon.
In this video, guys, we are heading into Wotlk Keep, and we're gonna 2-man it, a warrior and an unholy death knight. I'm pretty positive it's gonna go pretty well. We're gonna get a lot of XP, guys. If you guys like these videos, like them and enjoy. Sonics, are you ready for the most difficult challenge of all time?
Yes, I'm very excited.
We should consume, actually. We should consume.
But before we consume, stop! Only this many of you guys subscribe to the channel. Please, watching me and Guzu. Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah. Let's do this. Consume. I can eat some food, you know, have a little thing here.
Whoa!
Need some of that. We need some of that. I hope we can get this going. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go, actually. I'm excited for this.
Alright, killer Guzu. 0 death, right?
0 deaths. No death. We can make it through. We got it. Dude, you have 16,000 HP, man. We gotta go up there, Sonics. Let's go.
Oh, just so we can excite the chat. How many subs each death?
How many you wanna do?
I think 5 is a good number, right?
5 subs per death. So if you die, we both give 5 subs to both channels. And if I die, we both give 5 subs. So it's
okay.
5 subs per channel per death.
5 subs per channel per death.
So it's technically 10 subs per death.
You know the crazy poll, Guzu.
Okay, you are Sonics. Okay. That's a very big pull, Sonics. I don't know why you would do that, but okay.
We're very good at the game.
Yeah, you're tanking, right?
Yes, I'm tanking.
Okay, that's fine. Dude, you just literally charged into like 15 billion mobs. Can you tank them? If there's something you're not tanking, please.
You're just so powerful. You take aggro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. How are we not dying? This is ridiculous, but it's actually really good XP, by the way. We're getting like 2k per mob. This is so much XP. It's actually quite nice to change up a little bit what we're doing, just from like, you know.
Yeah, this is refreshing.
Yeah,
and then after we're done with this, we go back to Pleasant, and that's gonna be refreshing, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be like both ways, you know? It's good. Rather than just doing one thing, just only spamming one thing. We can do semi-big packs, actually, but it is a little bit scary. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely think we're gonna take from this. If we do the full run, we wanna do like a full clear of everything. We like master the dungeon.
A full play, like kill everything.
Every single last one of the mobs.
Okay.
It's pretty good XP. I don't wanna spam it, but I feel like if we're in here, we should like squeeze the lemon, you know? Oh, focus the Drake first, because I think you wanna be able to get revenge, right, from both mobs, right? Oh, Sonics, this Drake is like slapping me. Can I stun them? I can, okay.
Hey, yo!
You want me to stun it?
No, that's okay for now.
I'm surprised how fast we actually can clear this, though.
Yeah, we're actually killing it.
I'm interested to see how we can handle the bosses, but I don't think it should be that hard, though.
Yeah, if me and you like taunt it and bandage, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, we should be okay. One more pack, then we got first boss. Prince Genesis.
Already?
Yeah.
Gotta play ultra safe and I pull it back in this room.
Yeah, let's do that. Actually, yeah. Focus that guy, this guy. The room crash. I'm gonna dragon and kill him.
Oh, that's not the first one.
Oh, yeah, the bomb. Okay.
I did the bomb.
Is it strategist?
It is both. Yeah, strategist.
Okay. Not bad. Oh, make sure we kill the two as fast as possible. Prince Genesis. Oh, I should have been in. I'm only first. Oh, yeah, you just cannot accept with us. You have so much damage anyway. It's fine. There's gonna be a bunch of mobs coming, but we can kill them really fast.
Guzu!
Wait, are you good?
You have to taunt this.
Like now?
Taunt the shadow, I die. Yes.
Okay, I can't. Oh, I can't. Wait.
I shield.
Kill the two.
Okay,
Okay, I'll taunt the next, yeah?
You need to taunt. No. I'm in a two.
Okay, you're good. Oh my god. The Savix. Dude, I'm in a two, man. Then he's pissed, and then he's just like, okay, well, that's subs right there.
That's 10 subs already.
Because we both died 5 subs for death, right? Oh, wait, dude, what if you bring him to the wall so you just LOS every shadow bolt?
Oh my
goodness. Bring him back and he just like LOS shadow bolt.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Like right here, right? At this little, oh, you see me. I'm ready whenever you are ready, buddy. Bring all the way back here. Hopefully he follows us.
Yeah, it'll be a shame if he resets.
I don't think he does. Oh, yeah, no, let's go. Okay, go. Okay, kill
oh,
yeah, kill the boys. I got my gargoyle up, it's pumping, like we're doing, like I'm actually pumping right now.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, mate.
Mate. Can you taunt that advantage?
Yeah, I'm I'll pop ice bomb for the two, so I'll just tank for a little bit. Oh, I can't eat actually. I'm down, get me. Oh, wait, I'm You're tanking again. Kill us.
I'm trying!
It's on me, free me.
I see.
Free me!
I'm
trying, it's fine. I'm gonna sacrifice my goo, bring it back.
Oh my god.
We need to kill these. I'm gonna LOS this one.
Okay. Oh my god.
Don't, I got it.
Holy moly. Because look at my health. Oh my god. Good job. Holy moly.
Good job. That was intense. Okay, first boss down, and we all 10 subs only. Let's loot the boss, let's see what we got. Doink. It's 11 gold, you know, it's not too bad. Let's move to the next boss. Next boss is gonna be a little bit interesting, because you know which boss it is, right?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember.
It's
the lady that's almost the...
No, it's the caster and the melee guy. Dude, my ghoul just went crazy. I'm sorry, dude, he just... Dude, he didn't listen to me, I'm sorry. No, I did not, he just left, man. Oh god.
I know you like content, but
Dude,
oh, kick it! Oh my god!
Okay. Dude, he literally just like, no one left. I think it's an imposter, man. Maybe we should use HP shout, like the commanding shout.
Yeah, we gotta use HP shout.
Yeah, I think that's better, having a little bit more health. There they are. I think we want to kill first. Instruct Scarvald or Dalron. I think they come back as ghosts, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter for you because you kill in revenge. You just damage everything, right?
Kill the caster.
Let me skip some health. There we go. Like, I'm gonna focus after, but I'm gonna do damage to both as well. Yeah, let's go. Pop. Oh, you can I got first kick. I got second.
I just said after first I should do it.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I don't have kick. This is gonna go through. It's fine. It's on me. Oh, that's another kick. I got this one.
Okay. This boss pumps.
Yeah, I think it's the other guy. I'm gonna tank this guy so I just take this damage, okay? If you need me to solve the big guy, just let me know if you want to manage. Kick this.
You might have to soon.
Yeah, I'm pulling ice bomb for the two. Just kill the small guy. Okay, he's gonna be there.
Small guy?
I have both guys on me right now. This is not. Oh my, he's going second mode.
I'm
Please stop. Yeah, stop.
Mate, I'm trying to get the other guy too.
Pushing.
Mate, I got him.
I got next kick.
Get the big guy, we win.
Yeah, I found. Yeah, kick.
Nice.
Oh my god. Oh, dude, your health.
Holy moly, dude. Easy peasy, not even close, chat.
Oh, you had 1 health. You actually had 1 health.
Holy shit, Kuzu.
Jesus. Good job.
One
Good
try
job.
though, one try.
Yep. Oh my god. Dude, we're almost at the end, man. We're getting
Wait,
there.
we're almost done already?
Yeah, we're so fast. It's actually really. I don't know how much XP we got to, but we're getting like 2k per mob, which is pretty good.
Yeah, we're already here. We need like LOS, right? I can't remember that much.
Yeah, he does like a big roar. Like,
Oh, and then a bike hero comes, right?
yeah, and then he reses him and turns into like an undead person, right?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Stuck in.
Wait, let's go. First phase should be easy. We just like LOS win whenever he goes like away, right? Why am I tanking?
Just hit hard.
This man. I think it's like a frontal one actually. Yeah, it's only frontal. It's only when he goes like
Okay.
yeah, it's only next time. That's maybe this though? I don't know what that is.
This one hurts, bro.
You get a break now. You get a break. You can
Yeah.
Spanish now, and then you should. I'm benching myself as well.
That was not that hard.
Yeah. You want to like all the way maybe do like all the dungeons like this, like for 2 of them?
I think we should do all of them, right?
Could be fun. Okay, you have like half health though. That's not good.
Yeah, it's fine. I got pot and shield buster.
Okay, that's fine. Maybe we should save Dark Oil for this actually. LOS. He always
Oh,
does.
is that LOS?
Yeah, he always does that in the beginning.
I didn't know what that was, bro.
Yeah. I don't think he's that much harder now. He's just.
He's not hard at all. What the hell?
No, he just hits this thing. LOS.
That's the front, no? Oh, does it do back?
No, I think he goes like sick on now because he's like he's pissed.
Okay. Hey, yo.
This,
Hey,
yo.
yo.
Hey, yo. Okay, I'm coming. If you want to bench, you bench yourself. I'm fine.
Hey, he goes through pillar, mate.
Yeah, dude, he's pissed. He's
Oh,
sacrificing.
because you have to take it full. You have to take it full.
Okay, I'm gonna go frost presence and I should be okay.
Yeah, just spam that strike. I'm not going out.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that gonna kill me, mate?
Oh my god, son!
What do you want me to do? I can't even get it. It just goes through.
Oh my god, you're kidding me! I had to potion everything.
It's okay. You got it.
Yeah, little 5 extra subs for the chat.
15, get this up. Let's go, dude. Wow. Yeah, I don't want to walk back. Can you like move the boss?
You need to do the head though.
Oh, man, are you kidding me? That is so far, man. I didn't get to roll. What is this?
Oh, I get the loot as well. Oh,
Kuzu, did you start the boss or something? Why is the gate locked?
I didn't do anything. I was just waiting for you. I'm sitting here waiting.
Come open this door, dude.
What door?
Kuzu, we have to do it again, man. I didn't get the head.
Oh, I see that. That's
Wait, let me
cool.
try to intervene. You hold? Oh, I thought that.
There's a wall here. Well, I guess you're not
What
getting
is
this.
this? Kuzu, I want head.
Dude, it seems like you're just not allowed to get that.
I want the head, man. Open the door.
I can't open the door.
You wanna abandon the head or what then?
Yeah, I'll abandon the head for you. I mean, if you don't do it, I don't do it.
Should we do a quick run?
Like a quick super run with like a group or?
Yeah, quick run with the boys in the chat or something?
We can do a super run.
let's go do this.
Let's go get that quest done, man. I can do big pulls, man. You gotta heal now.
Yes.
Dude, so it's always so fun seeing you like pop off whenever you like we get into like a normal dungeon.
Yeah.
Oh, I can finally pull what I want.
Everything.
Still XP though, like 1.2k per month.
Actually, not bad at all.
So this is what people have been doing all day, basically, right? They've just been doing this. I guess they're doing it in groups of 2 or 3, maybe. Maybe they're doing it in groups of 2 or 3, maybe. Okay, yeah. So it's like that's basically it, right? At the end of the day, guys, we're pulling the boss. All right, pulling the boss. Yeah. You pull the boss, by the way.
Yeah, it's a challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all good.
With ice. Oh, you can shrink out of the ice.
Ooh, maybe not.
That's
That's
what
actually.
Yeah.
Oh, this. Did we help that guy? I don't help him. Nobody's helping him. I'm really. I'm actually blasting as well. Though. What the hell? Nice.
It is so much easier with a group mode.
Yeah, we're just like zooming through it now. Someone pull the back,
Yeah, I literally saw you walking towards it. I was
Pick
like,
it up.
I want to skip this one. I think this guy's gonna pull it.
Make sure you feel the back. There's
Yeah, somebody pulled it. by
Dude,
the
that's
way.
crazy. Let's kill the back.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Accidents happen, right?
Yeah, it is what it is, right? Okay, let's go. Pop that there as well. Let's kill this guy first, then we're good to go. I've eaten like 2 burritos. I have consumed food today. I made like a bunch of burritos like prior to like launch because I knew I was gonna stream like longer than I normally do. So I made a little bit of preparation for food. Dude, you could do this for so long. It's so mindless, just like farming dungeon.
Holy moly, that was fast though.
Yeah, we're already done. This was like what was like 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe?
Yeah, wow, that was fast.
Yeah, I think like maybe 10 minutes for the whole run. It's definitely mindless though. Like you
That
could
is
do
mindless.
this. Yeah.
I could do this, pop on Netflix and just, you know.
Just autopilot. Just like go through it.
Yeah, maybe not with that.
You just like do it like this.
Yeah, but it won't be fun, right? I don't know.
I don't know. You can do both. I guess like a little bit of dungeon spamming if you're feeling like kind of sussy or something. Alright, good job, man. You got the head now.
Yeah, we got the head. Let's go, baby.
Wow. Actually, not a bad little pin that you get from this.
Yeah, nice little.
Oh, 40 XP. Oh, the quest is so juicy, mate.
I don't think Bosch is like an idiot. One of the reasons why I hold him to high sense, I think he's like fairly intelligent. He just does it for optics sometimes, whatever. But this man, this brave warrior, decided that he was gonna go headstrong, blinders on, into a debate about a sex-gender distinction with a philosophy PhD who's authored a paper on this topic with absolutely no preparation. And he was gonna rely on the surface level philosophy that he picked up from me in 2018 to do it. Can I just get some claps in chat for the absolute bravery of this mad lad?
I'm sorry, this isn't true. That water has not always been H2O? Yeah, all you have to do is cross the Mexican border. And over there, it's aqua. That's H2O, not water. Aqua means water. Aqua is water. It's a different term. Actually, it's aqua.
Oh, dude, I can't wait to watch this. This is gonna be the highlight of my life. Is gonna be this debate. Okay, oh my god. I hadn't seen this video. Damn. Now I feel a little bit bad because I kind of defended Vosh during the JK Rowling. I was like, oh, I didn't think he said anything that bad. He just needs to be a little bit more chill. Bro, what is going on here? Oh no.
So I'm sorry if my points have seemed childish so far, but the good chunk of British arguments are completely depth work. Involves picking apart my accent, my appearance, my outfit, my persona. You know, all the things 12-year-old girls go for when they're feeling particularly bitchy. Didn't be serious, I'm not serious with them. Then, because apparently he really wanted to prove my point about how feminist, he said this.
She's a pick me. No wonder she's dressed like this. She's wearing a fucking skirt with stockings. She just wants to live in that.
What does that mean, bro? That's such a standard girl outfit. It's a skirt with stockings. Doesn't mean that it's like what? Dude, this whole video is wild.
No wonder she's dressed like this. She's wearing a fucking skirt with stockings. She just wants to live in Mad Men and be sexually harassed by like the fucking the office boys.
I'm sorry? Beg your pardon, sir. What was that? What do I want?
She just wants to live in Mad Men and be sexually harassed.
What is happening, dude? I missed I don't know why you would. Maybe he was doing the ultra instinct, ultra irony art trying to like Jesus. This is the guy that gets pussy at any time on Tinder web because he left the dating scene.
Wait, is this guy seriously saying that I can't get laid? Incredible, I'll give you 5,000 if you can get poontang before January 1st. Do you have any idea who the fuck you're talking to? When I got off Tinder because of the fucking quarantine, Tacoma wept. Even like ignoring the fact that I have a girlfriend, even if we're just talking like randos, I'm 2 hours away right now from being inside somebody else. This is one. I have 2 skills, and it's non-monogamy and speaking publicly. Okay, do some fucking research.
Sorry. Well, we won't watch this whole video. Is that you tweeted about watching the periodic table real? Oh, bro, single Brit. Oh, we haven't gotten to that yet. Oh, shit. I don't want to spoil. That's like 3 hours into the stream. Damn, dude. Okay, stop. I'm getting distracted. Okay. Okay. So yesterday I said something to Booksmarts, something along the lines of like. I'm sorry. I think I said something along the lines of like, I don't think Vosh is like an idiot. I actually, one of the reasons why I hold him to high sense, I think he's like fairly intelligent. I would say he's like fairly intelligent. He just does shit for optics sometimes, whatever. But this man, this brave warrior, decided that he was gonna go headstrong, blinders on, into a debate about a sex-gender distinction with a philosophy PhD who's offered a paper on this topic with absolutely no credibility. And he was gonna rely on his surface-level philosophy that he picked up from me in 2018 video. I just wanna, can I get some clappers? Can I just get some claps in chat for the absolute bravery of this mad lad to think that he could try to take the philosophy that I knew
I'm secure about my skinny
4 years ago, before I knew what fucking ontology meant, and go and argue with a philosophy PhD over sex gender distinction. That's just claps for that, okay? Thank you, Steve.
I'm sorry? This is good. That water has not always been H2O? Yeah, all you have to do is cross the next one. Over there, it's aqua. That's H2O, not water. Aqua means water. Aqua is water. Actually, it's aqua.
Oh, dude, I can't wait to watch this. This is gonna be the highlight of my life. Is gonna be this debate. There's like this. I used to do this, so I'm 100% out cringy myself. This is why I hate everything. Like, you asked me a while ago, what do you think is the most cringiest video you've ever done? And I basically say every time you go back 2 or 3 years, all of my videos are cringy because I'm constantly like understanding things, updating my understanding. People that have like this elementary grasp of philosophy and think that they can just reinvent everything on the fly, like, bro, people have written books and books and books on shit like this, okay? Like, you're not fucking Wittgenstein Jr. at age 29 with no formal background whatsoever, and you're about to give us a whole new theory of language, okay? Like, what do you think are you gonna do?
Aqua, it's not aqua, right?
And we're referring to terms and definitions here.
No, I'm referring to water. The stuff that fills lakes and rivers.
The stuff that
fills
fills many things fill lakes and rivers.
Okay. Do you honestly not know what I mean when I talk about water?
I think you made a mistake before you began that argument, which is that you said just
It
because
sounds like 23 roast record. Yeah, but you're probably spoiler to this,
people who know something doesn't mean that can't be the case when we're talking about definitions. Things that are
Okay, we'll watch this one. Okay. Where do we even start? I don't even know where to start, okay? Let's start with Shuan. So, in case you guys didn't know, so in the Destiny community, we have the LS, okay? We've got the Lore and Southern question. In Vosh's community, they have the Shuan question. And both communities constantly vie to throw these two women at each other to see which streamer man is more of a simp or worse human being, basically. So, one of the problems that Vosh's community has is that... kind of like I'm trying to build it. No, actually, one of the problems that Shu has is that she's self-aware about herself. She doesn't have the best... mind. She kind of, she's kind of a loose cannon, okay? That's not supposed to be sexual. She just kind of says what she pops in her head at any particular point in time, and it's not always the most insightful thing. So, okay, there's a go, alright? How is that sexual? I don't want somebody thinking I said like loose, like, oh, she's a slut or something. I don't know, you guys are weird, okay? But the problem is that I think she recently gave a take where somebody tweeted out I only checked Watch's subreddit in 1 minute, so what happens on videos. But then somebody tweeted out like, oh, here's a disgusting drag person that's doing something for children or whatever. And it ended up not being the case. It ended up not being something that either was a straight person or something different. And the problem is that Shu, it was a burlesque dancer, that's it. It wasn't an LGBT thing, it was Shu. It was a burlesque dancer. The problem is that when Shu amplified this tweet, I think that her tweet, the original tweet got like 2,000 likes, and then her tweet ended up getting 20,000 likes. She amplified the fuck out of it. And then she ended up going on to make some cute apology. She's like, listen guys, like politics is like kind of for fun to me, and I don't know anything about politics. And oh, thanks. I should have documented this more closely. Oh, here it is. The crazy part about the kids drag show was that it was a nothing burger. The crazy part about the kids drag show was a nothing burger. The loser infiltrated it. Got less than 2,000 likes, and she got 59,000 likes and made it viral. Oh, she actually got it. Do you think she got it on? I didn't click next. Did she actually get it on Tucker Carlson? Oh no. Oh my god. I didn't even click next on these. Representative Slayton says he will file a bill to ban drag shows in the presence of minors in Texas. Damn, Shuan has more legislatively effective than Vosh with a single tweet. What a queen. Apparently talking to the segment. Jesus. That wasn't the burlesque photo? Was it not at all related? It looks like she tweeted the same thing. Or it might be something different, but it's part of like the stuff that she was tweeting. Now listen, now, because I don't listen to Vosh enough, I've never listened to Vosh defend Shu, so I don't actually know if he does. I don't know if he does defend her or what, but apparently, people feel like he's defending her. People feel like he's running defense. Oh, I also see, like a rebel here. Didn't Vosh imply Shu's boyfriend wasn't a Nazi on stream yesterday? Anyone using to cultural Marxist talk about this. The leaps and bounds he goes in defending his is insane. It reminds me a lot of Destiny with Lawrence Southern. Do I get rebel a lot of you? And D doesn't even defend Lawrence, but he's watching my Shu. Damn, oh no. Oh, the back and forth, but anyway. Fuck Vosh if he sees us and doubles down gaslighting us. He can fucking join Destiny and a piece of shit. Not worth taking me seriously at that point. Since Destiny fucking talks about being a trans ally, but fucking shits on the trans community on any day that ends in Y. Just like Vosh says he's part of a community, but fucking defended Shu's Nazi boyfriend. You suck dick, Vosh. Well, so do I, but unlike you, I ain't giving a Nazi head just to sit for some mediocre negative occupancy. Jesus Christ. Fuck, what else was it? There was one guy that made a thread. I'm not gonna be able to find it. Oh, so they made this script red. Watch address the shoe problem. And his response was that we were all insane. That we are the problem. We are toxic. We think shoe's boyfriend is fascist. We were all being friends. And then he got, and this guy got permaban. And he locked the thread at 140 comments. I want to make him banned. This got me banned and I'm not even a dude. Damn, dude, that fortress. You remember what I said about Nazis, guys? This is what I said. Listen, if you want to be a race leader, fun. Okay, get rid of all the brown and black people. But once you've done that, there's only white people left. You're not going to see all white people. You're going to see people with brown hair. You're going to see people with fucking blonde hair. You know, once you've gotten rid of all the brown hair people, you're not going to see a whole bunch of white people with blonde hair. You're going to see people that have green eyes, people that have blue eyes. Right, you're always going to divide on these differences. And that's what's happening in the fortress. They got rid of all the outsiders, and now they're slowly whittling down what's left on the inside. Oh no. I should have went link hunting before this. Vosh reacting on stream. Oh shit, hold on, I didn't see this one.
Mainly downplaying the extent that Shoes an anti-LGBTQ fascist.
The funny thing is, I read through Shuanhead's boyfriend's tweets. Fuck, I thought I had this up. Oh no, wait, can somebody link me the thread with all of his tweets? And I don't want to run defense for Shuanhead or her boyfriend because I don't give a fuck about either of them, and none of them would give me any amount of charity. Oh, 500 views sometimes. But the thing is, her boyfriend's Twitter just kind of reads like a guy that's listened to way too much Jordan Peterson. I don't know if he's actually like a fascist or Nazi, but here are the 6 tweets this guy took out. I think one of these is a little sussy, but they've gotten the majority of the Western world to believe that men can become women. They convince us of that. Everything else is very gay. I'm almost positive I've heard this from Jordan Peterson, like verbatim. Nobody, man or woman, should have free to do what they want with their bodies. This sounds like a Jordan Peterson thing. These aren't rights about systemic racism or Floyd, but about physicality. All that was the catalyst, the first wave of cultural Marxist uprising. You read this tweet, enable your eyes to the sound. Let's take this out cultural Marxism. It didn't Jordan Peterson have this shit. I don't know if he has it recently. It's intellectually morally American American political parties engage in genocide against angry people, up against the norm, perpetuate the Democratic Party. This is a pretty standard conservative talking point. They talk about how black conservatives especially will talk about like the genocide against black babies. I've talked to a black conservative. I don't remember his name, but I'll talk to my stream about that. Body freedom, accepting your freedom clashes with my religion. Liberty equals license, you moral infant. If wanting to bring evil, including abortion, also including contraception. So these are the evidence brought forth to prove that Shuan's boyfriend is a fascist. Which is these tweets are cringe, to be clear. The guy is clearly like a JP fucking fanatic. But I guess actually if you ask Wash's subreddit, they probably think that Jordan Peterson is a fascist as well, right? But it's just I like watching them eat themselves because now this is something where Vosh truly only has himself to blame. Because like, if you're gonna call like Scalia and George Bush fascists, and you're gonna throw around fascists all the time, you can't really be that surprised when people are calling like Shuan's boyfriend a fascist, right? You can't really be that shocked about it. Vosh hasn't called Jordan Peterson a fascist. Well, didn't Vosh imply Shu's boyfriend wasn't a Nazi on stream yesterday? Anyone used to cultural Marxism talk about this is Nazi talk. She's dating a Nazi. Vosh is wrong in this one. She's gaslighting because of offensive behavior. It's just sad as to why he keeps defending her. These are also old tweets, so who knows? Somebody pointed out the left. Oh, apparently they're in the GC, guys. Apparently they all share a group chat together, and I guess Vosh must have referenced that once because I saw a lot of comments on the servers like Vosh said he's full in the group chat. It's disgusting. Cultural Marxism stuff is at least fascist adjacent. I think it came from the old ideas of that cultural Bolshevism or whatever, which was Nazi propaganda. But like I think a lot of people have like contemporaneously adopted like the cultural Marxist postmodernist shit. Like I feel pretty confident that Jordan Peterson is not a fascist. I'm pretty sure he's like actually like a liberal with like some pretty whatever beliefs. I don't think Jordan Peterson's a fascist. I know that he's talked about that cultural Marxist shit a lot. I'm not to say that it's good. I think it's cringe over now, but I don't think Jordan Peterson's a fascist. Okay. Jordan Peterson doesn't use the term cultural Marxism. He uses postmodern neo-Marxist. I've heard him say that before. But I swear to God, I've heard him talk about cultural Marxism too. I feel like I'm almost positive. I don't know about recently, but when I say liberal, sorry, fuck, my brain is international right now. When I say Jordan Peterson is a liberal, what I mean is like he's not a fascist, he's not a socialist. I don't mean he's a liberal, he's like left-leaning or like a Democrat or whatever. He's probably like whatever part of the political spectrum you put Joe Rogan on is probably where Jordan Peterson is. He talks about cultural Marxism in 12 rules. Okay, gotcha. I don't mean liberal in the sense he's like Democratic or left-leaning. Why anyone continues to support Shu is beyond me. Sympology is a very dangerous ideology. Imagine finding this piece of shit attractive. Oh my god. Post it all, my friend. There's a lot I didn't even post. Please, our community deserves the truth on this. If Vosh really wants to make this community into the base pro-queer safe space fortress, then we gotta know when a snake is snuck through the gates. Shuan has a threat to our queer and trans comrades. That much is obvious now. She has not apologized. She has apologized since it was posted. I ain't buying it. She still thinks she was right. Remember when I was like, there's no point in apologizing to these people? There really isn't. Don't let that Nazi scumfuck boyfriend off the hook. This fucker wants to torture queer trans people with conversion therapy. Nuke his ass with all the screenshots. I beg you. Thanks for what you've done already, though. I'm so proud of how this community is this painful, stressful situation. She didn't really apologize, though. Really. I saw her big. She made like 10 tweet thread about some shit that I read, but. Normally, I'd be against using the opinions of someone's partner to criticize them, but I think it's just weird. Really? Would you really normally be against that? Really? If somebody told you they were dating a Nazi, you're telling me that you would normally be against using their opinions to crucify that person? Okay, chief. Hey, that's me. I really laid it on thick. Oh, KCJ from LA, it is you. Why are you in both our communities? I super don't understand how people can watch both me and Vosh. I don't understand you guys. How can you watch us both? I feel like we're so different. Unless you hate watching. Now, oh shit. 5 hours ago. Mr. Moon anti-fan. Oh, we got so many gems to go. Okay, we gotta finish watching the Bears clip. Sorry, hold on.
Mainly downplaying the extent that Shoes an anti-LGBTQ fascist.
Oh, this is the post. I saw this before I went to sleep. Or no, it was when was this posted? Fuck. Probably done with Vosh after the gaslighting about the shoe situation. Check out this guy. Check out this post, okay? Also, if this guy got banned, that's fair game. I ban people to do this all the time. So I don't even judge you, Vosh. I don't even judge you if you ban this guy, okay? Because these posts are cringe as fuck. But when it's happening to other people, it's base as fuck. So, wait, hold on. Wait, what did this guy in chat say? Destiny, that was me, bro. I am the psyops DGG for life. Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, but you got 55 upvotes in this. Okay, hold on. You guys have to chill. You guys have to chill, or else people like us are actually gonna start seeing you in the walls, okay? Stop doing this. Is all of Vosh's subreddit just a bunch of alternate accounts from DGG? Are there any Vosh fans? I'm just kidding. Okay. 1.3 thousand people logged in right now. Damn. Okay. They are sleeper agents. True. They're just waiting. You guys are waiting like you guys are going to be for better for my manifesto. Okay? You will be rewarded. Okay? Might be in the afterlife. You will be rewarded. Okay, watching this.
Mainly downplaying the extent that Shoes
Oh, let me, I don't know if you can read this whole post, but. I don't know. Namely, downplaying the extent that Shu's VF is an anti-LGBTQ fascist. He's getting so much labor, he gave other creators 0 before lashing out and ranting and raving over the slightest criticism of him. True. I gotta say, I'm starting to wonder if Vosh has been this toxic and manipulative all along. I've just been drinking the Kool-Aid. I mean, there's gotta be a legit reason everybody outside his community hates him. Oh no. I mean, really, think of any defense of Vosh. Anytime something gets linked with Vosh saying or writing some sussy shit, the response is always, yeah, he did do and say that, but here are a million caveats to make this okay. I mean, obviously, a lot of hate and criticism is ridiculous, but after some reflection, I think he's generally a very dishonest actor. I think he's very manipulative to his fan base, and he's been outright abusive to other creators before. Let's be honest. The Poppy things are really fun. We shouldn't forgive him so easily or at all. Anytime the community starts to turn on Vosh just begins to purge his community. Anybody critiques him. And if the remaining audience just moves on, business as usual. Vosh can't take criticism, lashes out terribly anytime he receives, and they don't really feel safe in his community anymore. Oh no.
They don't like the extended shoot the LGBT fascist. Literally, I just said in the group chat, I thought.
In the group chat. He's the group chat. He's chilling in the GC, guys. He's so cool in the group chat. Imagine that. Lauren Southern guy, she's cool in the group chat. Do you think Vosh will let me get away with that one?
He's gonna shoot. That's not what gaslighting is. He's gonna shoot so much away. We get other creators but that's not necessary criticism. I wonder if Vosh had been this toxic and manipulative all along. Dude, teaching psychiatric terms to Zoomers was such a fucking mistake.
Wait, I thought I was going to get a repeat. Teaching psychiatric criticism is a mistake. We'll probably see it in the debate, but it's so funny. He's one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my entire life. There's going to be another part in there's going to be another part later on where he goes off on how, what did he say? It's like people learning elementary psychology or elementary philosophy terms was the worst thing that ever happened on the internet to debate. Like, yeah, true, Vosh. We'll probably get to that one later. I think that comes in his. Is this clip quiet or am I crazy?
They don't sound arguments. I mean, you said they wouldn't care about circular. I don't know why you're talking about circular arguments when I haven't provided a circular argument. I have no idea what this. I swear to God, teaching mediocre people online what philosophy terms are has been the greatest mistake humanity's ever made.
Absolutely true. I hate myself for it. Absolutely true.
Holy shit. It has led to an exponential increase in the number of people making bad arguments using larger words.
He's gotta be fucking with me. He's fucking with me right now. He's fucking with me. I know he's fucking with me. He must be. He's got. I rescind my rescission. Rescission? What do you call something that is rescinded? I'm rescinding the thing that I rescinded before. Vosh is. I said he was intelligent. I'm like, no, I think he's dumb as fuck. Now actually, I think he's hyper intelligent. I think that Vosh turns the stream up and he's like, oh my god, Destiny's gonna be so fucking triggered that I just explained myself to a T, and I'm gonna be acting like I have no self-awareness at all. Like 2 days ago, he was like, I think we should hold people accountable with betting. I think that'd be a really good idea. I think after he calls me a scumbag for trying to bet him on the genocide shit. I think he actually plans this out in advance. I think he's thinking, he's like, oh my god, like he's probably the one that made this clip. He might be in my chat right now, and he's like, Destiny's gonna be so fucking triggered. And then I'm gonna get free airtime on his stream for the next 12 hours by saying just the dumbest shit, unimaginably like stupid shit.
It has led to an exponential increase in the number of people making bad arguments using larger words. I swear to God. You listen, go out to fucking Bristol, go to some goddamn northern English province where everyone speaks an incomprehensible accent and ask them about gender issues. And I swear to God, you're going to get as much coherence as your average fucking philosophy bro online. Oh.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, we should take a break from this guy.
I mean, there's gotta be a legit reason everyone outside this community hates him. Is this a psyop?
It might be.
The Poppy thing was really fucked. We shouldn't have forgiven him so easily or at all. Okay, this is a DDG, 100%. The Poppy thing happened before I started my channel.
Oh no, the fortress has been infiltrated, guys.
It's just a psyop, yeah. It's Destiny himself, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's gotta be. Pepe, I didn't actually read it. Based. Never read Reddit comments before banning the people who made them. Wait, hold on. There's a removed post from 9 days ago called "Y'all finally ready to admit you were wrong about the vaccines." Oh, he's a conservative. Must be a Destiny.
What is the implication there?
Oh wait, he keeps posting anti-vax shit. Holy fuck, this guy's committed. So definitely DGR. Oh, 100%. All DGRs are anti-vax. Very true.
True. I think he's being sarcastic. Oh, this one got locked.
You can hate in your life
I didn't
then.
realize
What was that, Andy?
Oh, this one would have had more comments. This got locked at 557 comments. Okay, what is
If
this?
you're asking, do I believe we should believe things that are wrong if it makes us happy, then no. If that was the case, I wouldn't be talking about how Republicans. That would be a Destiny argument where be quiet about the fact that Republicans are trying to destroy democracy and like enable genocidal conditions because it makes people upset. But I'm a rigid adherent to reality. Tragic. I'm happy as it makes people like me.
The truth sayer.
Now, if you're asking, do I believe we should believe things that are wrong?
This has to be bait. Oh, dude, I can't. I truly don't. My conditions have been ameliorated such that I'm no longer capable of facilitating salient thought. Okay, let me watch the fanny movies to probably cover
Like, oh, it's going to be elected. But I don't think we value potentiality. It seems like it takes a position. At what point do we consider like the life potentially beginning? Like, I feel like we can do it when a couple meets.
Wait, that's sperm and egg. Yeah, that's when
No,
DNA.
when a couple. Why wouldn't it do when a couple meets before that?
No, because like DNA is one day.
So we value DNA.
DNA is pretty important. DNA is the building blocks of your entire life story. Whether you have brown hair, blue eyes, that's special. You don't know, right? You don't know why you're like, whoa, that's a pretty amazing gene. At the moment, your whole how you look after people. If Charlie Kirk wants to make this argument, you can make that argument, but you can't make an argument for. I don't think you can make an argument for potential life if you're talking about the creation of a zygote. You're talking about that particular thing. No, you're talking about a thing, not a potential thing, right? So you have to defend the existence of that thing, not a potential thing. No. You read how you'll age, all that stuff, built right there at the end. My opinion is because that whole roadmap, your story, your book, is right there. Like, don't remove. I think you're right from that. Okay. Oh shit, so the whole reason why I even started digging into the Vosh subreddit more. So yesterday, Vosh decided to debate PhD guy on the gender-sex distinction. And this is a guy who's written a paper apparently on this, and he was confident enough to do this debate with no prep. Good luck, guys. Here we go. Watch the opening statements from Vosh's point of view at least. He looks so fun. Oh yeah, let me watch the point of view if you want. Alright, here we go. Good luck.
It's still white for me.
Yeah, we'll watch Vosh's point of view so you guys can watch it. Guys.
Oh, there. Okay, now I think it's 2 seconds. Let me just adjust the size. And then, oh, there it is. Okay, I see it. And then, let me just. Good. And then if we could, just because last time a speaker was doing share screen and their slides would advance on.
There's no shirt. Wearing
Their
stuff.
slides would
Yeah,
advance.
Nino, when do we have our merch on? This is a cute shirt. It is a cute shirt. I know you guys want it. Look how fucking nice it is. Look at this. Look at that. It's cute. Look at it. Look at it. You want it. I know you want it. It's an awesome shirt. Okay.
On their side, but they were not advancing
I'm muting
for the
myself.
audience.
I
Can you
guess.
just click to the next slide just so we can be sure that they'll see it? Okay, good. So
I don't have any
why
slides.
is this person? So yeah, it's working, and then
I don't have any slides, guys.
cool. Good there. So
Yikes, bro. Not a good
great,
look.
and then I'm gonna
It was
pop
a
it out
PhD, I
of.
kind of expect that. Already lost.
And
It's already
then
over.
oh yes, and then Yeah, and yeah, once you plan on pulling it up,
What the
if you
fuck
let me know if you say art, I'm going to share my screen, and then I'll pull it up so that way the audience can see it.
Okay.
And then, otherwise, any last questions, guys?
That's it. I think I'm all set.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. This is fun. Thanks for being here, guys. And I'm going to jump on screen, but that pull open, or like I said, I'll kick over you, Bosch. So here I go in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Hey, everybody, tonight we're debating whether or not trans women are women, and we're starting right now with Vosh's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us, Vosh. The floor is all yours.
Hello, I'm Vosh. Okay, so there are two basic arguments here. First of all, the idea of sex and gender being distinct categories. They obviously are. I don't think anybody disbelieves this. There are obviously things that we refer to, which are in the purview of the experience of being a man and a woman, which are not defined biologically. Whether it be light blue and pink being distinguished gender colors, the clothing that we wear, the way we style our hair, these are things which are not derivative of our biology. They're derivative of social standards which change. You can look at other parts of the world, which they're different. You can look at different points in time within our own country, and they're different. There's no getting around that. It's not like biology is changing rapidly year to year as the fashions do. If people don't like, the idea of gender and sex being separate, then we can simply say that when I refer to gender, I'm referring to some other separate category that is not sex, but describes social differences that tend to be associated with sexual ones.
Damn, I would have written out a statement for this, but whew, Vosh is a braver man than I. Good luck.
And once you have that, nailed down, the following argument is one of utility. We construct definitions. We do
Oh no, he's already kind of sort of stumbled in both arguments that are addressed on the paper. So he's kind of, when he's talking about like colored things, I don't know if he's gonna make well, I guess he's making an argument for like the changing nature of gendered stuff culturally, which I think is addressed a couple times throughout the paper. And now in this argument here,
now, the following argument is one of utility.
the argument of utility, I think, is addressed pretty well in his first response in his paper, where he essentially says, well, for an argument of utility, we're not getting to the truth of the matter if there's a sex-gender distinction. Now you're just telling me that it's an inconvenient truth and we want to lie about it to make people feel better. Oh no, all right, good luck.
We construct definitions. We do it to serve our own purposes as humans. The only reason definitions exist is because they serve us. We are their masters. And if I believe, as is the case, by the way, of many medical and psychiatric institutions, if we believe that the definition of woman being one tied entirely to sexual differentiation is arbitrary, inconsistent, and harmful, and that there is a better, more utility-serving definition.
What is your position? My position is that I feel like they're so here is my issue. Okay, so here's how I think scientific categories change. I guess we might before they start this way. So it feels like you create like this scientific category because it provides a lot of explanation for a lot of things. But every now and then, what'll happen is it'll seem like we'll discover a couple facts that don't seem to be accounted for in our original model. So we have to find a way to either expand our model or radically change our model in order to account for these new things. So it would seem to me that if trans people didn't exist, I would probably say that sex and gender, or like gender is almost like an abstraction of sex in some ways. Gender is, maybe I would say Butler is like, it's a performative thing, where gender is just like a performative thing of society. Sex is like the biological fact of the matter, whatever. However, like, trans people represent a problem because it seems like there are people that have a strong innate feeling that their something is not matching their sex. So insofar as that is concerned, I don't know how to account for that other than to recognize that there must be some separate internal feeling of what your gender is that is separated from the biological reality of what your sex is. It seems to be the case. And then I would challenge, I would need some way to account for how trans people feel and the phenomenon that they seem to experience that I need a way to account for that. And the only way I can account for that is there's like, I don't know if I call this a sex gender distinction. I might say that there's some internal feeling of sex, and then you've got like the biological features or phenotypes of the person that seems to resemble what their sex is. That would be like something that I would need somebody to account for. Explain to me how people can have an incongruent internal experience of sex or gender that is incongruent with their like sexual expression. That would be what I would want. I don't think that was any of the arguments given in the any of those feminist or philosopher papers though, so I don't know how much this is believed on by anybody. I'm not sure.
One to use, say by self-identification, then that is the one that I will use. I have no interest whatsoever in abiding by some harmful, arbitrary standard out of a need to stick to tradition when there's a perfectly serviceable and better one that makes people more happy and hurts nobody lying right there. And that is why I say prescriptively that trans women are women, and descriptively they have been treated as women historically in our society in varying extents throughout history, depending on the culture and time period. It's a complicated business, but we can get there.
Oof.
You guys, thank you very much for that opening, Bosch. And if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, want to let you know, folks, we're a neutral platform hosting debates, panels, and discussions on virtually every topic. Want to let you know, we hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you were from. And I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Bogardus for his opening as well. Want to remind you, the speaker's views are their own. So the speakers are not speaking on behalf of any institution that they are affiliated with or have been affiliated with. And Dr. Thomas Bogardus is an associate professor of philosophy. He earned his PhD from the University of Texas and works in the areas of epistemology, philosophy of mind, and philosophy of gender. You can find his publications on...
Oh man, dude, just hearing that, how are you so confident? Like, yeah, I'll fuck this dude up, no problem. Did I read any of his papers? Nah, I don't give a fuck. I don't know any of that shit. Don't know, don't care. Let's go. Oh man.
His website, Googling his name, and both guests are linked in the description right now. With that, Dr.
Bosch, right now? Did you just link the chest thing? The kid with the chest thing? I know that's what you just linked. I'm connected to your brain. Will kill forever. I'm connected to your brain. Oh fuck, that's not what you linked. We're not connected. Never mind. I thought we were connected, but we're not. You linked the shit meme instead.
Bogardus, thanks for being with us. The floor is all yours for your opening as well.
I'm sorry,
Right. Can I share my screen?
You bet.
Okay. So everybody can see that, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so if you're unable to see this for some reason, you should know that the slides are available at tinyurl.com/moderndaydebate_June, the month of June, and there's no spaces or capitals in there. Okay, just gonna start my timer. Hold on. So the topic of our conversation today is
The philosopher about listening to Bosch's.
Like,
I don't condone this language.
I think she's got an extra chromosome. Retard.
Show slide. You can see in the title. What do you want to do?
this sentence, trans women are women, whether trans women are women. And what I want to try to do is explain why this is such a persistent philosophical question. I started thinking about this about 6 or 7 years ago, and so I'm going to share some of the things I've learned in that time and try to convey to you the landscape of the debate as I see it in a way that I hope will be useful and interesting no matter what your views are on this topic. And to try to explain why it's a persistent philosophical question, specifically what I'm going to do is try to show how on 6 common interpretations of this sentence, trans women are women, including 5 that Vosh has explored and endorsed, the sentence turns out not to be true.
Oh no, he's actually done research into Vosh. Oh my god, the PhD guy researched this fucking academic layman opponent, and Vosh has done no prep work. How is Vosh so confident? This dude is wild. I admire the bravado. Like, Jesus. Don't come. No, Andrew.
So just a quick, I think, obvious clarification. I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that when people say trans women are women, what they mean is all trans women are women, not just some. So I think that's the question under consideration, whether all trans women are women. Now, to see whether that's true or false, to evaluate whether that's true or false, I think we would have to get clear on what it means to be a woman. We have to think about the meaning of that word woman in order to see whether it's true that all trans women are women. And so now I'm going to consider those views I promised a second ago. The first view is what we might call a biological view, according to which women are adult human females. Now, I think this is the sort of traditional, historical, ordinary sense of the word. This is what the word ordinary means. There are a few reasons to think that. We can talk about these in the discussion period if you'd like. First of all, there's words for other species that we use for the adult males and the adult females of those species. And it would be pretty surprising if we didn't have similar words for the adult males and adult females of our species. This is the definition that virtually all dictionaries give. Of course,
Wait, you're getting cuts? I don't see any drops on my end, so you're getting cuts. Okay.
dictionaries aren't infallible, they make mistakes, but the fact that this is what dictionaries say is some evidence that this is the way the word is ordinarily used. But most importantly, I think the strongest bit of evidence is that, as far as I can tell, virtually all trans-inclusive philosophers agree that this is the ordinary use of the word. That doesn't mean they acknowledge and concede that this is what people ordinarily mean. I'm not sure whether Vosh agrees. He said some things that sound like he might disagree. Just a few days ago, he said, there's so much arbitrarity with how these terms get posed. I don't think the biologically prescriptivist attitude towards gender is the historically correct one. So possibly Vosh disagrees with this. But as I said, a lot of trans-inclusive philosophers agree that this is the way the word is used in dominant mainstream contexts. So here's some quotations. I'll let you read those on your own. But Robin Denbrov, Mary Nicolas, Sally Haslinger, Jennifer Saul, these are all philosophers working very much from a trans-inclusive direction. Simone de Beauvoir seems to use the word in this ordinary biological way as well. Again, that's not to mean they recommend this definition. A lot of these philosophers think that this is a problem and we need to change it. Because when you think about the question whether all trans women are women, if being a woman requires being biologically female, then these philosophers think it's going to turn out that not all trans women are women. In fact, none are. And they consider that to be a problem. Here's a quotation from Katherine Jenkins saying as much, saying that if you fail to respect the gender identifications of trans people, that's a serious harm. And I think Vosh would agree that that is a problem. Back in 2021, he said if someone makes an argument that a person isn't a woman when they claim to be a woman, I would say that's transphobic. And then here's another quotation saying something similar. I'll let you read. Okay, so as I say, a lot of philosophers wish to move away from this view of what it means to be a woman. And one alternative that they've explored is what we might call a social role view, according to which to be a woman is to be someone who functions or behaves or is treated a certain way socially. Now, sometimes Vosh seems to endorse this sort of view. Here's an example from back in March. So he says, I am a gender abolitionist, so I don't want these designations at all, but as long as they exist, these designations, man and woman, we're talking about social roles. And again, just a few days ago. So he says, given how arbitrary these definitions are, I think one where we acknowledge that man and woman, as we refer to it generally, is a social trait.
Watch the chat in PowerPoint all the time, just calling the dude a nerd or saying he probably gets no pussy or shit like that. From Vosh's chat, a bunch of like suicidal mentally ill kids are calling somebody else a nerd. I mean, okay.
Something which refers to social roles and attitudes, not biology. That's probably the one that hurts the fewest people. Okay, so that's the social role view. And now the question before us is, does this sentence come out as true or false on the social role?
Here's something that's interesting. And I made arguments relating to social harm before, and I think it's legitimate to like analyze some things related to like what are the harms they cause for the definitions they use. It's a little bit hard to get into that though when you're trying to make like factual distinctions, because here's a question. Let's say somebody said, look at all the social harm that's caused by defining woman as biological and male and man as biological, right? Well, because of the harm that causes trans people, we need to change the definitions. I might actually challenge somebody. I might say, do you actually believe that argument? Because let's say it was the case that cisgender people started committing suicide because we've changed the definitions of man and woman. If more cis people kill themselves than trans people kill themselves, would you walk that argument back and go, well, actually, because of like how harmful it is to cis people to have trans people given the same like gender terms or sex terms as them, now we need to go back and change the definitions because of the harm caused to cis people? I don't know if they would actually say that. I think that when you push them there, I think they would throw that argument out. They go, okay, well, never mind. Okay. So we can't measure based on who's harm more. I guess that's kind of silly. And I think you have to move on to the next part of the argument.
Worldview. Will it be true that all trans women are women? Well, to figure that out, we have to know exactly what social role we're talking about. What is the social role that is taken to be definitive of womanhood? And it turns out it's pretty hard to say what social role we're talking about exactly, given, as Vosh said in his opening statement, all the variation across time and culture. It's hard to say what social role is had in common by all and only women throughout time and place. But even if you found one and said, there, that's the social role, that's definitive of being a woman, there's a problem because there's no guarantee that all trans women will play that role, will occupy that position in society. Katherine Jenkins, again, a trans-inclusive philosopher, criticizes the social role view on those grounds, saying there may well be, and there easily could be, and there may in fact be, trans individuals who do not present as women, and so are not treated as women, don't play this role, don't occupy this position in society. Or there could be individuals who do present as women, but aren't read as women, or aren't taken seriously, or aren't treated as women, in which case they won't occupy the right position in society in order to count as a woman on this social role view. So my sense of the state of play
Obama.
in the current philosophical debate is philosophers have moved away from the social worldview because it turns out false that all trans women are women on this view. And at least in the popular culture and even in the philosophical literature, the view that's sort of rising to prominence is a self-ID view. I think that's coming to be the most popular view, as I said, at least at the popular level. So on this view, we're told to be a woman is to be someone who identifies as a woman. And I won't be the first to notice that, oh, well, here's a quotation from Bosch endorsing that, by the way. Okay, but I won't be the first to notice that it looks like there's a threat of circularity here.
I don't know where my phone is.
We were asked what a woman is, and the definition used the word woman when defining the term. But it may be that there's no actual circularity here if the word woman in the definition means something else than the meaning we're supposed to get from this definition. So let me give you one example. Here's something Vosh said. He said, if you want, you can say a woman is a person who would like to, internally and externally, adhere to the social roles and expectations associated with a woman, or at the very least, a social archetype. So again, for circularity, there's a reason the word woman there, but suppose we meant woman in the ordinary sense, adult human females. Just suppose that's what was meant. So it's not the very same sense to be defined, it's another sense. Well, the problem is that many women won't want that. Many women don't wish to adhere to the social roles and expectations associated with being an adult human female, as Katherine Jenkins has pointed out.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't know if I'm the only autistic person that does this. Does anybody else besides me take notes during arguments? Like, I feel like it's really important. If I want to address everything somebody says, or maybe I just have a smaller brain, so I can't remember things. Maybe Vosh is actually remembering every single argument with salience in his brain right now. But I feel like now would probably be a good time to take notes. No, or maybe just. Oh, Iridite does this? Yeah, she's copying me, obviously. Everybody does for a hamster. Is he in chat right now? Everybody slurp for a hamster. During arguments with my mom, yes. Good job.
For example, not shaving legs. Elizabeth Barnes, another trans-inclusive philosopher, points out that there might be some women with cognitive disabilities such that they lack the ability to have this desire, to conceptualize this desire, to want to adhere to these social roles. And more relevant for our purposes.
Oh shit! I don't know. Did I ever go over the Vosh bad song on stream? Do you guys know why he doesn't have that as a dono alert anymore? Did we ever talk about this? apparently the Vosh bad guy is an anti-fan now. I guess he doesn't like Vosh anymore. So he unlisted the song on the internet. And I think he added to like the description of the song or a comment. He's like, I don't like Vosh anymore, so I prefer if he doesn't use my shit or something like that. Or finally, comments like this crazy, but damn, rip, not good.
Turn out that some trans women might not like to adhere to these social roles or these expectations. For example, some trans women who say they don't owe you femininity. So the first point was just if this definition is not circular, then whatever the word woman means in the definition, it's going to turn out that not all trans women are women. What if it is circular? What if we're told, no, to be a woman is to identify as a woman in the very same sense to be defined? So Vosh is not so sure that there's a problem here. Back in May, he said my definition of gender, which is just a woman is someone who identifies as one. People complain about it being circular, but I don't think that matters. So I think it does matter for at least two reasons that I'll try to explain. One is that a circular definition can't convey any meaning. It can't actually tell you what the word means. But secondly, even if the word has a meaning, I didn't get it from this definition, but suppose it has a meaning, the statement that to be a woman is to identify as a woman has to be false. It's necessarily false. So
he's not even debating with Vosh, and the president's debating past Vosh. Well, it's just opening statements. They're just doing opening statements right now. Oh, here it is. I think the bit has run its course. If you still manage to find this video for whatever means, I actually wanted to delete the video for a while because I hated it. Was convinced it had to make its run through the culture first. It's hard to take pride in something you made in about 4 hours total of manic frenzy. Just unlisting for the insane schizos like me that saved this and want to come back to relive the days when Vosh was a good streamer. Sorry.
I'll explain these two in turn. So one problem is that circular definitions can't convey meaning. Here's one way to see that. What we're being told is that someone is a woman if and only if she identifies as a woman. But now suppose we ask, well, what does it mean? What does woman mean there in the definition? What are you identifying as when you identify as a woman? On this alternative, we're being told the very same sense to be defined. So what you're identifying as is someone who identifies as a woman. That's what you're identifying as, because that's what a woman is. But notice woman shows up again in the definition. And so suppose we do another round of recursion. And now the definition says to be a woman is to be someone who identifies as...
This is RGR's argument, one of the arguments she used against Demon Mama, actually. This recursive argument. But I mean, like, this is such a silly, obvious argument. You can't have circular definitions for a wide variety of reasons. If we accept circularity for definitions, then the logical end to that is literally the destruction of language, right? Words no longer convey meaning, and without meaning, you just have a bunch of private language, meaning people are just uttering things and no one knows what anything means anyway.
Someone who identifies as someone who identifies as, and you see that this will just keep going. We'll never eliminate the circularity. It goes on forever. We've got this infinite descent. And there's this irredeemable void there in the definition, which means that the definition never expresses any proposition. It never actually tells you what the word means. It just keeps promising you a meaning if you just do one more recursion, but you never get there. So that's one way to see why circular definitions are deficient. Here's another way. It's sort of a little sillier, but suppose I tell you that people collect baseball cards and pogs. I don't really know what a pog is. I collect blargs. And suppose you wonder what a blarg is, and I define it for you in a circular way. A blarg is just anything that has this really cool feature. It's a blarg. So clearly that's a circular definition. Now, if you really think that there's no problem with circular definitions, then you should be able to find me a blarg, especially if I give you a hint that there's one in the room with you now, and I offer you $50 if you could just find that blarg and bring it to me. So if there's nothing wrong with circular definitions, you should be able to find a blarg. You should be in a position to know what a blarg is. But obviously, you're not in that position. You can't find this blarg.
You can use circular definitions to provide meaning socially.
No, hold on. Stop. What are you saying, bro? Circular definitions, by definition, don't give you anything, because that's what the circularity means. You can't define it with respect to something else. If you're saying that there's some other way to find a definition for it, then it no longer becomes circular, right?
That's another way.
Damn, dude, Vosh is going the ultimate skeptic. Well, here I am. I'm actually here to define circularity. I'm here to defend circular meanings. Like, bro, good luck. Oh my god, dude, this is gonna be brutal.
To see why
you're referring to an archetype that shares that term.
Okay, but suppose that somehow the word woman got meaning independently, maybe by pointing or ostension. That's the way that we define words commonly. I think still, even if the word does have a meaning, the claim that to be a woman is to identify as a woman, someone's a woman if and only if she identifies as a woman, that has to be false. And here's why. On this view, on this proposal, if that phrase being a woman refers to anything, then we're told it refers to a very interesting characteristic, a very interesting feature. It's a feature that someone has if and only if she identifies as having it. There's this tight connection between having a feature, being a woman, and identifying as having a feature, identifying as a woman. But if you think about it, I think you'll realize that there simply is no feature like that. There's no characteristic that you could have if and only if you identify as having it. There's no way you could be if and only if you identify as being that way. Just think about ordinary features like being funny or being tall or being rich or something like that. It's one thing to be rich. It's something else to identify as being rich. You could be rich without identifying as being rich. You could identify as being rich without actually being rich, and so on. And this just holds generally for every feature, any property you choose, any feature you choose. And so what that means, what 1 and 2 entail here is, on this view, the phrase being a woman doesn't refer to anything because there's no feature that answers to this definition. There's no such thing. And so a kind of surprising result is, on this view, it looks like there are no women, and there are no trans women, therefore. And for our purposes, what follows is it's false that all trans women are women, or at least it's not true. In fact, it looks like none are, because there are no women at all.
That would be all, right? If there are no women,
here's a couple of views. I think those are...
No, I think that statement, when he said that, like, well, he didn't say, well, it can't be false, but it's probably not true. I think that would mean it's like indefinable, right? Undefinable. It can't be true that all trans women are women if there is no even like coherent definition for women. But it can't be false, it's just like undefinable that part.
Sort of the big three, but here's some other views that have been discussed by Vosh. One is gender abolition. On this view, ideally, there are no genders. So ideally, women don't exist. Here's Vosh expressing that sort of view. I think gender is a destructive concept. He says, so eventually I want it gone. Sally Haslinger, trans-inclusive philosopher at MIT, says something similar. She adopted a social role view. She thought to be a woman is to be oppressed. So she says a main part of the project of feminism is to eliminate women, which sounds kind of surprising, but that was her view. So I think we can at least agree that on this view, if you ask how things should be ideally, they would say ideally there are no women at all, and they would say ideally there are no trans women. So that's a kind of surprising implication of that view. Here's another one which I think Vosh might want to defend today. He says in his opening statements that he says prescriptively trans women are women. So that's another view that I've heard expressed in his videos. On this view, when you say trans women are women, what you're actually doing is giving a kind of command or prescription. You're saying you should speak and act as though trans women are women is literally true. You should speak and act as though trans women are women is literally true.
It comes to the balance.
And that's why, as Vosh said, it was a statement justified by utility, by good consequences, by benefits. So here's a statement of Vosh sort of expressing that. So he says, what people mean when they say women is a social category I'd like to be a part of. I want to think of myself as part of it and be thought of as part of it. Telling me a trans philosopher says something similar. In trans inclusive and queer communities, gender presentation indicates how you want.
Sometimes I think Vosh misses like levels of definitions. I don't know how to. It's very hard to like explain this. Well, I guess you could argue I don't understand it well. I can't explain it well. Vosh does like a weird thing where, how can I say this? He'll miss a level. Like he'll say something like this: every single, no matter how many options you have, it's binary. And I'll be like, wait, what do you mean? Like, let's say I have 7 options. That's not binary. There's 7 options. And he'll say, well, there are either 7 options or there aren't 7 options. Therefore, it's truly actually binary. I'm like, well, no, not really. He's like, well, it's binary. There either are or aren't. He'll make a statement that's true, but he's like, he's applying it to the wrong level, or like he's not contextualizing. I don't know, contextualizing level. I don't know. I don't have a formal diction to like explain this, but there's like he isn't applying the right level of conversation sometimes, and I think it's really weird. I think this happens in this conversation at the very, very end. I didn't listen to much of this, but
want to be treated. So if you think that we should treat people how they want to be treated, then when you say trans women are women, what you might be communicating is we should treat people how they want to be treated. We should treat trans women how they want to be treated. Okay, and again, it's justified by utility. So I'll just point out with respect to the prescriptive claim, whether this is something we should do, something that doesn't seem to enter into everybody's moral calculations is whether or not what we're saying is true. 60 seconds left. 60 seconds left. Okay. And given what I've said so far, it looks like this statement trans women are women is literally not true.
What?
And so we can at least agree on that. Wait, we asked this prescriptivist view. Strictly speaking, literally, are all trans women women? I think, given what we've said, you have to agree with. Has to say no. Okay, let's see if I can fit this in. I ran out of space on my slide, but sometimes Bosch seems to be a nihilist or an anti-realist about gender. Sometimes he says gender concepts are arbitrary social designations, and in reality, there are no men, no women, etc. Here's a quotation from Bosch back in 2019 saying all categories are socially constructed. They don't exist in nature. That's we built them. So if you hold that view and then you ask, well, really, literally, are all trans women women? I think the view has to say no. In reality, no. Okay, so I tried to show that the statement trans women are women is not true on every view we've looked at, including 5 from Bosch. Thank you for your attention.
Whoa! Thank you very much for that opening. And with
check Twitter. Wait, did the guy respond to me? I don't have a section that much. I can do it. Unfortunately, I'm sort of in a decompressed stage to watch it. I did a lot of prep for that. I thought a lot about it, and thought of doing another one is a little daunting at the moment. Oh no. I think he's worried that I want to have like a hardcore debate. Which I don't really. I just kind of want to poke his brain a little bit and see what his thoughts are. That if this conversation, he says he needs to decompress after, or maybe I shouldn't look at his damn face. If this conversation is as brutal as I think it's gonna be, I can understand him being like, I don't want to talk to another fucking YouTuber debate bro on this shit and have like another 12-hour like back and forth with some guy that's just like trying to gotcha me the entire time.
that, we're going to jump into open conversation. Want to say, folks, thrilled to let you know we have a lot of upcoming debates. You don't want to miss them. So, for example, just confirmed today at the bottom right of your screen whether or not it is okay for kids to go to drag queen shows with, you betcha, Bosch and Alex Stein.
Go to drag queen shows with Bosch?
Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. And with that, we're going to jump into open conversation. Thanks so much, gentlemen. The floor is all yours.
All right, I'm sure that you won't mind after that if I take a moment to respond to your premises, as I have plenty to say, as we it seems we both do. So the issue I have here is that I feel as though you've misrepresented some of my views and definitions here, and what's more, all of these views are incoherent. The construct I often find is that people treat the biological view as though because it's the traditionally accepted one, it's the coherent one, but in reality, it's nothing but. There's a reason why Nature, arguably one of the most respected scientific journals in the history of the species, has been putting out article after op-ed about how the idea that sex and gender are the same, or that gender should be considered an extension of the biological category, is ahistorical, ascientific, and just false.
Okay, you have to be careful with this. If I am debating layman, I will cite expert opinion and say, this is why you're wrong, or you need to contend with this study, okay? But if you want to have a discussion with somebody who's not a layman, it's actually not enough for you to just cite expert opinion, because arguably, this person is an expert, and two, they're going to want to argue about what's being cited. It's not just enough. It's not just enough for you to say, well, Nature says this, because he would disagree. And then you have to substantiate the disagreement. You say, well, Nature said it. That's not enough in these types of conversations. To just say, well, the journal said this.
And the reason for that is because what you obfuscate when you refer to the biological sex version of gender is the literal millennia of arguments and inconsistencies over what exactly it means to draw that line. Of course, for most of human history, we have no idea what chromosomes or even hormone launches are, so only recently has a full understanding of the actual things that differentiate biological males and females in the But even leaving that aside, long-standing have been the practices of intersex people having their genitals mutilated by doctors who want to get them cleanly fit in one category.
I feel like so. I've said this before. This is something I notice when I'm debating people. That whenever you try to cool down a conversation, this is why. And I'm starting to see how already this is beginning. Whenever somebody feels like they're losing a conversation, it feels like they start to go for like, okay, I'm not going to win this one on the ground. We're going to start going for optics wins. And it feels like Washington's already doing it. Well, maybe I'm doing it too easily. We'll see. But we'll see.
Or another, biologically male or biologically female, often to the psychological detriment of those people because those authors are trying to force people into a binary construct that just doesn't work. And the existence of intersex people at all simply destroys the concept of a sex-based gender, because a binary is just that.
This is an argument that Vosh would be smart enough not to make if he at least just read that paper. I know it's going to be argued on stream, but if I read a 20-30-minute paper, it's not long. If somebody's going to give you an 18-page paper where you can skip the footnotes, this argument is already completely addressed in that paper, right? Just because you don't have a clean, and like I can replay the next 10 minutes of argumentation around this line. Not good, Vosh.
A binary. You can't have a system that claims
it's like a cheat sheet to every argument this dude's going to make. Yeah, because remember, this guy's already argued around. Bosch is making the argument from biological intersex people and day6, and the guy's already like pretty cleanly summarized this in syllogism, pretty cleanly responded to the syllogism, and Bosch is just going to retread all these arguments without even realizing he's walking into a trap. Really, he was not making because he didn't read this paper.
Coherent when it's like, well, 99% of people fit to it. Well, 99% of people leaves out millions. And what are those millions then? Aberrant counterexamples? No, the system never functioned, and it never made that much sense, and it never survived scrutiny, by the way. It's not as though medieval French peasants were under.
Why do you think Bosch continually refuses to do the bare amount of work to prepare for debates or talks or even fucking cover the news? Because there's no viewership. Who the fuck cares? Nobody wants to watch you like I lost like I think 700 viewers reading the paper. Nobody wants to watch you read the paper. And I probably only kept those viewers because I had Bosch's name like baited in my title, right? People, there's not a big payoff in media for like doing homework. Generally, it's like just like one sports shit.
Going significant sociological analysis of the concept of social construct and sex. They didn't have sociology back then. It's a fairly modern construction. When it comes to what we talk about, like with the prescription of gender, and all statements of definition are prescriptive, by the way, because we do create these definitions. We didn't unearth them in stone tablets.
That's really weird. That's a really fucking weird, strange, and queer argument. All definitions are prescriptive because definitions aren't discovered in nature. Like using that line of argumentation, I almost argue like every single thing ever is prescriptive because nothing is technically found in nature. Like trees are prescriptive because by defining a tree, I'm telling a tree, or I'm telling you what a tree ought to be. Like that's a very, 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 very weird. Very strange. Yikes. Okay. I wonder if this guy, because this guy's a philosophy PhD, I wonder if he starts to hear this and he's like, oh, fucking kill me. Because it's not even like undergrads. Well, maybe. I'm trying to think. Do streamers sound like undergrads or do they sound like uneducated grad students? Because the grad students at least know some things. But like, damn, dude. It's like, I think I took this site. Like, my favorite thing is like debate streamer reinvents philosophy and science. Like, on the fly.
books written by God. We had to make efforts to understand them. What we're really doing is trying to find what serves us best. Now, there is meaningful utility in understanding the difference between a biological male and a biological female. There are categorical differences that are worth respecting in biological sense, but that doesn't encompass the wide variety of social differences between most men and most women that are largely socially ascribed. So when you have this dissonance here, where so much of what it means to be a man isn't actually what it means to be biologically male, in both the modern world and throughout history in many cultures, there are differences between those two things. We have an issue. What is a consistent, rigorous, 100% of the time effective, applicable mode of gender? What works? The answer is nothing. It simply doesn't.
Do you think he'd be able to get any gratification in the subject where you're supposed to talk about the philosophical objectivity? I'm just curious about his thoughts on. I'm just curious if he has a way to reconcile that some people seem to have a different understanding of their sex in their mind than what their body presents. And if he doesn't have a gender sex distinction, I wonder how he would draw that distinction. I'm just curious what he would say. I don't really want to debate him because I don't even know how much we disagree on things. I'm just curious how he would respond to that. It feels like the term social construct has ruined every discussion for the past 2 years. Yeah, I take the blame for that. And I said as much on stream. I've tried to undo this over the past 2 years. I would use terms like socially constructed a lot to show you that we are able to reconstruct terms if we need to do that. But one thing that I didn't do a good job of saying is just because something is a social construct doesn't, one, it doesn't mean there are no underlying facts of the matter, and two, it doesn't mean that it's arbitrary or worthless. Wash says this a lot. Social constructs are arbitrary. That's not true. It's the opposite. Arbitrary implies a randomness. Social construction implies a purposefulness. A social construct isn't arbitrary. It's purposefully done. You purposefully draw a box around something because there's some meaning for it. But he uses these words like social construct and arbitrary to like, it basically gives him this like ethereal position where he can attack and defend any concept at any point in time, every time he wants to. He has this ability to maneuver around topics like throwing out these loose philosophy terms, where on one end he'll be arguing that like trans women are women because women's a gender and that performance can be anything, and then the next sentence he'll be like, also I'm a gender abolitionist. I don't actually think gender is a real thing. And then the next sentence he'll be arguing about like he just has the ability to slide between all these positions because he is like the ultimate skeptic on epistemology. He said as much, right? The winners decided if the Holocaust even happened or not. He's the ultimate skeptic in regards to metaphysics, like anything can be anything at any point because it's all socially constructed. He's the ultimate skeptic in ethics. Well, what is good is what is good, and what is bad is what is bad, and that goodness is with respect to my axioms as being good, and that badness is because it disagrees with my axioms, but to them it would be good, and consequently whatever. Like he's constructed like all of these black hole positions through from epistemology to metaphysics to or from epistemology to ethics to metaphysics. He has all of these black hole positions where he can simultaneously attack and defend every single thing from any point in time because he like bit a few philosophy terms from my stream and he employs them in the worst ways possible. It's like but it's really funny to watch it happen. Yeah. We can make like an AI bot to throw out like Vosh philosophy sentences and it would probably predict a lot of what he would say.
Stupid concept, and we really shouldn't be respecting it much as a social construct at all. As long as people do respect it, we should go by the definitions that hurt people the least. That is, after all, why we build our definitions, to serve human utility. And to that effect, you call it the self-ID view. The prescriptive view I don't think is inconsistent, but I stand by this. What we mean when we say woman, a woman, is a person who chooses to adhere to a broad, constructed collection of values, aesthetics, forms, rules.
And the funny thing is, Vosh will start talking, and I don't think he realizes, he doesn't even really say. So like, what he's saying right here, well, a woman is somebody that adheres to a broad set of, really? So if somebody were a super tomboyish presenting person, then they ID as a woman, would you say that's not a woman? What do you mean by that, Vosh? Because now you're arguing against self-ID. You're saying that a woman is, and now you're going to go on to define a set of characteristics of what a woman is. Now you no longer believe in self-ID. Because self-ID is inherently contradictory to any rigid definition you give, because self-ID is amorphous to anything, right? So he doesn't even believe a lot of times. Or this is kind of debating Vosh philosophy hard because my go-to for debates is usually about inconsistencies. But every time Vosh utters a new statement, it must be like I don't know, like if you're like coding, you're like compiling, like every time you add a new line of code, you're somehow creating like one new line of code gives you like 400 more errors every single time you add a line, and that's like what Vosh is, right? Like doesn't compile, goes to fix one thing, 400 more bugs, goes to fix everything, 400 more bugs every time he speaks. It is like riddled with inconsistencies, like he said before.
And
but you might say that inconsistency is actually a socially constructed thing. It's not like inconsistencies are found in nature. Like there is no like the desire for consistency in and of itself is a prescriptive thing that is arbitrary in nature and has no like actual foundation in the real world. I don't know, maybe he would say that. Who the fuck knows? The principle of explosion actually isn't a bad thing. Explosions being bad is just a socially constructed thing. But what about the explosions that happen in the center of the sun that heats our planet Earth? So if you said the principle of explosion is bad, but I think explosions are good because the fusion that happens in the sun actually allows us to survive. So I don't know, you might actually say something. I have no idea, you know? Jesus. Okay, let's sit down. Okay. Jesus Christ.
Perspectives that we consider to be a part of what it means to be a woman. There is no consistency here, and you'll never find it. No more than you can find the definition of what it means to be cool. You know, find me a fine line on that. Point in the room where the cool, you know, the cool protons are, or the cool radiation. It's not present, and you'll never find it. But still, we have very strong ideas about what it means to be cool, and we argue. But the arguments are for a purpose, because finding out who's cool, what's really cool, is socially useful, as is whatever definition we arrive at.
The sad thing is, I bet his fucking chat is sewing the fuck out, thinking that he's like dominating the guy right now. I bet his chat is all like, I have two ways to read it, but.
Cool. What's really cool is socially useful, as is whatever definition we arrive at, which hurts.
These guys hate philosophy too. No, they like philosophy. They hate perspective philosophy.
The smallest number of people concerning gender, and that is why I believe trans women are women, because all definitional statements are necessarily prescriptive. And as long as we are dealing with a system that is fundamentally constructedly absurd, we should at least refer to it in ways that harm people to the least possible extent.
I'm so curious, like where this guy's brain is right now, like how the fuck he even wants to begin to climb through the tangled mess of that statement. Oh my goodness. Let's see what he does.
Okay, so you started that by saying you were going to respond to my premises, but I'm struggling to see how any of this responded to any premise of any argument I gave. So let's go through some of the things you said. You said all of these views are incoherent. You said there's no coherent concept of gender. Is that right? Did I get you right there?
You will not find me a definition of gender that is...
I like how... It's so weird seeing Vosh do this because he's normally... I thought maybe he's a smart guy. Anytime, here's another indicator that somebody is like knows they're fucked in debate. You'll see this happen with me a lot. I'll try to restate somebody's argument. Like, so would you agree with this or that? And they'll never ever agree with the restatement. They always have to add more because because in their mind, this is what they're thinking. Fuck. If he's accurately restating my argument and he's not worried, he's probably about to fucking knock it down. I can't let him restate my argument because he's got a knockdown for it. So every time, so when you said 1 + 1 = 2, or 1 + 2 = 3. So if I reverse, it's like 2 + 1, you would also say equals 3, right? And they're like, well, when I said 1 + 2 = 3, like if you had like, well, for 2 + 1, if it was 2 piles of hay and 1 pile of hay together, that would equal 1. I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm just trying to understand what the fuck you're talking about. Wait, well, hold on, wait a second. Are you changing it? Like, they'll never ever let you restate whatever the fuck they've said because they're worried that if you restate it accurately, you have an accurate knockdown coming next. It's so frustrating when I'm in a debate and people do this to me. God, it triggers the fuck out of me. But
is that right? Did I get you right there?
You will not find me a definition of gender that is 100% consistent and all-encompassing and has no flaws. There are no such things. It can't be found.
So there's no consistent definition of gender. So no matter who I asked, if I asked anybody what is a woman, no matter what they say, you think there's going to be some sort of impossibility or contradiction or inconsistency.
You will always be able to find a hole or an exception, whether they have a biological or self-ID, a social goal, or an athlete.
Like you can just say yes, Vosh. Like notice, like he's essentially kind of restating perfectly. Just say yes. It's okay. Yeah, he summarized your view accurately. That's okay.
Perspective, there will always be. Well, gender abolition is a prescription, not a description.
I think this is a nervous habit too, where people are like, they kind of want to keep rattling too because they feel a little bit nervous that they have to keep going. Yeah.
different gender states. But no matter what a person's definition of a woman is, there is always going to be something within them.
Okay, so then it sounds like your view entails there are no women. Because there's no true definition of women.
No, not at all. There are plenty of social constructions that I think have meaning and serve utility, even if there are no consistencies to it. I think cool people exist, but I don't think I could ever find a single definition of cool that perfectly delineates in all categories and situations between cool and uncool people.
Okay, so you said the concepts are incoherent, inconsistent, but I think what you just mean is perhaps vague, so allow for borderline cases, or difficult to articulate. I think maybe that's what you mean when you say all definitions are incoherent, inconsistent, all definitions...
So again, remember, Vosh would have read the paper. This guy's already argued relating to borderline cases, so Vosh should recognize that he's about to step into this guy's already formalized argument here, but I don't think he has any idea, but we'll see.
Gender anyway. I think what you mean is they allow for borderline cases. They'll be vague in various ways. And what was the second thing I said? Vague in various ways, and hard to articulate, difficult to articulate. It'll be hard to come up with or express or verbalize a definition that includes everyone who should be included and excludes everyone who should be excluded. So that's the view. I guess I would agree with that. Yeah, definitions are hard to come by, typically, and most of them, especially in biology, are vague and admit borderline cases. But nevertheless, they may be true. There may be true definitions, even if they're difficult to express or articulate. You gave the example, one of your arguments against the biological definition of woman was that we didn't know about chromosomes many years ago. Well, first of all, I don't think biological sex is defined in terms of chromosomes. But let's just use the example of water. Maybe we could agree that water is H2O. That was true even before we knew about chemistry.
Oh no.
That was the definition of water, before anybody knew anything about chemistry, before we knew about H2O. Back when Aristotle thought water was just an element. Nevertheless, it was H2O. I'm sorry?
This isn't true.
That water has not always been H2O?
Yeah, all you have to do is cross the Mexican border. And over there, it's aqua. That's H2O, not water.
Aqua means water. Aqua is water. When they are actually
oh no! This guy has to be like, what the fuck did I agree to? Oh shit, dude. It's too much.
We're referring to terms and definitions here.
No, I'm referring to water, the stuff that fills lakes and rivers.
He's referring to the thing itself. He's not... Oh fuck, I wish I knew... I feel like I have so many problems with philosophy. Everybody says, "Oh, Wittgenstein talks about this." Maybe one day I'll read his book. I never will, or any of his books. Fuck that loser. Okay. But there's a difference between a thing and like a reference to a thing. Ren might know the distinction here, but like there's a difference between the thing that is water and then like the word, the reference to water. And the philosopher here, he's you mentioned distinction. The philosopher guy here is talking about the thing itself. That's why he says H2O, not the label of the thing, not the reference to the thing. Yeah, like if I show you like I can't. Well, like here, like if I show you this and I ask you what is this? Do you know what this is? And you guys say a phone. I would say, no, you dumb fuck. It's a pixel on your computer screen. How stupid are you? And you'd be like, well, yeah, obviously. Or if I show you like a map, someone chats a map. If I show you a map, I go, what is this? Oh, that's America. No, it's a fucking map, you dipshit. What do you mean it's America? If I show you a map. Well, yeah, but it's referring to the thing of America, obviously, right? It's like, no, it's a map. Like, this is like a mentally, I don't even know what you would say for like a person that can't understand the difference between two things. I'm sure Vosh would understand the difference. He just hasn't. Yeah, Jesus, but.
It's not the case. Many things fill lakes and rivers. Okay.
And now we gotta fight because Vosh is like, if I can just get this motherfucker to not define. Vosh is the fucking flip side of the conservative that I argued, that tried to argue that clouds were alive. Because he thought if you could define clouds as being alive, you could protect a pro-life stance. He's like, yeah, I think clouds are living. And now Vosh is like, well, if I just don't let this slimy motherfucker, if he can't define what water is, no way will he be able to define what woman is. I guarantee that's his thought process in his head right now.
And we're referring to terms and definitions here.
No, I'm referring to water, the stuff that fills lakes and rivers.
The stuff that fills many things fill lakes and rivers.
Okay. Do you honestly...
He doesn't even know how to respond. He actually gets so fucking owned. This is actually the first monster W for Vosh. This guy just got his mouth shit in. He was like, fuck me, you're right, dude. Many things do fill lakes and rivers. I don't know how to respond to that. I want Vosh to sit on a board where they do like thesis defenses or whatever. It would just be so fucking funny.
Here.
No, I'm referring to water, the stuff that fills lakes and rivers.
The stuff that fills many things fill lakes and rivers.
Okay. Do you honestly not know what I mean when I talk about water?
I think you made a mistake before you began that argument, which is that you said just because people didn't always know something doesn't mean that it can't be true. But that can't be the case when we're talking about definitions. Things that are true have constructed premises that lead necessarily to an outcome resolution.
Wait, what did you just say? Things that are true have constructed premises that lead to an outcome. I don't know what you say. I can't actually. Things that are deductively true will stem naturally from premises, if that's what he means. Or things that are true, like facts of the matter, things that are found in nature. I don't know what he actually means here.
But a definition is
this guy's looking off to the side. He's trying to figure out what the fuck did this guy just say. I wonder if he's worried and like, am I getting intellectually outpaced right now? Is this guy like on 7 levels of philosophy deeper than me?
Applied presuppositionally. You can say constructed premises that lead necessarily talking about definitions. Things that are true have constructed premises that lead necessarily to an outcome resolution. But a definition is something applied presuppositionally. You can say, for example, that the light, the spectrum of light that we see, the visible spectrum.
A definition is applied presuppositionally. I don't know if there's a difference between a presupposition and an axiom. Like, I think a presupposition is a statement given as is with no justification. I don't know if a definition can be given as is with no like a definition seems by definition to have a reference to something that justifies it. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Vosh is working on levels of philosophy that I've reached to me right now. Okay, I can't get this. I can't access these thoughts right here.
Like, is something that exists outside of our perception. And that is certainly true. But how we perceive it is not existentially correct. And what's more, the definition between red, orange, and yellow is not something that you can find proven anywhere in the real world. We have to arrive at arbitrary distinction.
It's even that's kind of weird because if you want to go with colors, if I was a philosophy guy, I would jump. If you want to go with colors, that's fine because we can have a somewhat socially constructed reference, but we're grouped around things that are probably factually true. And in this case, we're talking about the wavelength of electromagnetic radiation. Right? We can very specifically say that, like, well, you agree that this wavelength is different than this wavelength. Unless Vosh is going to say like magnets, or not magnets, like math and everything is socially constructed. Words or Zoom calls are socially constructed. I don't know where the fuck we're at right now, but okay.
So that's.
Can I just ask you about water again? Do you not think water is H2O?
I think we've come up with a term to describe what we refer to as water. There are, of course, other cultures that
I agree with you. We came up with a term to talk about water. That term is water. And we came up with terms to talk about hydrogen and oxygen. But here's a sentence. Water is H2O. You know what those terms mean. Now think about what idea is expressed by the words. What's the thought that's expressed? We could express it in many different languages. Now think about the thought that's expressed by that sentence. That's true, isn't it? The thought that is expressed by the sentence. Water is H2O.
What do you think?
And it was long before we got here, long before humans got here. Water is.
I don't know if this is kind of a prediction I'm making. I don't know if Vosh will ever agree because I feel like I've already identified that like he's kind of I don't want to say bad faith mode, but he's going to be squirming for the rest of this. I don't know if Vosh is going to answer a single question for the rest of this conversation. I think he's going to like pivot and do this like dumb like, well, I don't know if anything is real for probably the rest of the talk. But we'll see. Maybe not.
H2O.
Well, ice, of course, is also H2O, but water is what we define it as within a given, state.
Ice is also water. It's not liquid water.
Yeah, but colloquially, people refer to ice as ice and water as water, and whether or not they're going to use either of those definitions is going to come down to context. And what about heavy water? 2H2O, or deuterium oxide, which is referred to as water and is in fact a type of water, an isotope.
two H2O, I believe that notation just means you have two elements of H2O. Am I forgetting chemistry? Or does he mean to say H2O2? Because H2O2 would not be an isotope. An isotope, if I can remember, an isotope uses the same formula, but it'll have is it a positive or negative based on fuck, I don't remember. It's fuck chemistry. He means deuterium. Is deuterium an extra proton? Is that what deuterium means? I hate chemistry, dude. Fuck that. He means D2O or an extra neutron. Okay.
But it's not.
Oh no.
In fact, H2O. There's an extra hydrogen atom holding on there, making the substance denser.
Oh no. Okay, this is why I'm gonna give a tip to all the budding philosophers in chat. Okay, there's a reason. Okay, and I'm gonna trigger the fuck out of all the science people. There's a reason why people always talk about quantum physics and stuff, because nobody actually knows anything about quantum entanglement. That means information can travel faster than light. Like uncertainty principle. That means many worlds is true. There's a reason why people use quantum physics because nobody knows about quantum physics. Okay, in chemistry is a little bit more defined. Okay, if you have a certain molecule, you can't change. If you change the number of atoms in a molecule, it's going to be something different. Water is always going to be H2O. If you have like H2O2 or H4O, I don't even know if you do biochemistry. You can't just add atoms to it and have the same molecule. You're creating a totally different thing. You can't like don't go to chemistry. If you want to bullshit about knowing anything about science, okay, just go to quantum physics because everybody just says random shit about quantum physics all the fucking time. Don't do chemistry because too many people remember from their high school chemistry class and you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And before somebody emails me, I'm actually totally wrong, but
Sir.
So if this is
heavy water, let's see if I can remember this. Isn't heavy water that has a higher concentration of deuterium isotopes or something in it as opposed to like normal water? It's just like the composition of. It's a form of water that contains only deuterium. Oh, maybe it's only deuterium, and it's not necessarily the composition of normal water to not normal water. Rather, the common hydrogen one isotope. Presence of heavy hydrogen isotopes gives water different properties, increase mass, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Back to chemistry class, but did you say deuterium? Is that right? Is that heavy water?
Yes.
If that's just an isotope, is it an isotope of oxygen that makes that? If that's an isotope, it's still oxygen and it's still H2O, and that is still H2O. That's still water.
It's a different chemical compound than water. Certainly, if people wanted to refer to it as a different type of thing, not water, but let's say they chose the term waterium. I don't know. Scientists come up with names. If they want
I think
to
he misspoke because he said extra atom. Well, no, because now he's using words like compound, which like we're talking like compounds or mixtures. I don't think that's anything to do with molecules. Compounds, I think, are two different molecules mixed together that like dissolve into each other. Is that a compound and a mixture? Or is that a solution and mixture? I don't know. I just like if you want to have an argument about chemistry, I feel like you should probably know a lot of chemistry before you come in and like start to. Well, I'm gonna debate you on like the differences in like these like highly, they're not even advanced, like these pretty nuanced like chemical ideas. It seems kind of weird to bring this out of nowhere because now the conversation's gonna get ultra bogged down in like random shit. He corrects himself. It's not a matter that he corrects himself. My guess now, maybe this sounds bad. It sounds like he's just reading chat and copy pasting arguments from chat. And he doesn't actually have a good understanding of
like that to describe it. They would have a significant taxonomical distinction to refer to, a different molecular composition, but we refer to it as water. You might say it's trans water. A bit of a difference, but fundamentally very similar.
Okay.
Even if the philosophy dude, now he might just be tired because of how absurd all these logic trees are, but couldn't the guy actually say, so wait, so you're telling me that like heavy water and normal water are actually factually different things? Because going by this weird fucking road that we just followed with Wash is actually making that trans men aren't women, that heavy water isn't water, that these are like factually, there's a fact of the matter to be understood here that's not arbitrary, but that is like fact-based in the world that is different from like one or the other, right? Like, but.
So you're resisting me on the claim that water is H2O. Let me try a different one.
I'm resisting you on definitional prescriptivism. I think that we have.
Wait, how can you resist on definitional prescriptivism? I thought you said all definitions were prescriptive. What does that even mean to resist on definitional prescriptivism? I wonder. Again, I might be the one that's like behind here, and I just don't understand. But I'm curious, like, what is the philosophy of thinking that Vosh is intending with anything he ever fucking says ever? Like.
I'm not prescribing any definitions. I'm just saying water is H2O, true or false. And it sounds like you're reluctant to say true.
No, I agree. I agree that water, and we refer to H2O as water colloquially. Yeah, of course.
Right, so water is H2O. And it was H2O long before humans came along.
Well, water wasn't a concept back then.
I know, but nevertheless, water was there. Actually, water's never been a concept. Water's always been a molecule.
Well,
we have a concept of water, but the concept is not itself.
Now, if you wanted to technically go, I think, like very anal like theory of science or philosophy of science, to say that water was always a molecule, that statement is actually probably not defensible because a molecule is like a contemporary arrangement of how it works. But that's some weird shit. But he would probably agree, I imagine. He's probably just trying to get Vosh to like get to some point where they can have an actual conversation because right now they can't.
Water.
But our understanding of it and the differentiations that we make when we distinguish it from things like heavy water, these are socially constructed. After all, you
someone on YouTube chat said technically a molecule would be a model, right? We can argue about the existence of a model is a little bit different than the existence of a thing. But like we can understand what he's getting at. There probably is something, some arrangement of matter that we call water that's been here regardless of human concept or not, right? I think most people agree with that.
Said it's still fundamentally water, but we're talking about a different molecular shape. Now that's because you've arbitrarily branched these two within a category that because there's a relationship between them. But that's a social phenomenon. The universe doesn't give a shit whether you refer to heavy water as water or some other, molecule.
That's this guy's argument.
Utterly indifferent to your perception of reality. But we still choose to prescribe. And that I think a lot of people when it comes down to definitional games, they start doing this, well, these things are these things. And we have a lot of power over that. Some animals are different species, but we distinguish what makes something a different species. The taxonomy for what refers to species differentiation, we made that up. We invented it. We didn't discover it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the philosopher guy can't understand what's happening here. They're lost on the reference versus the thing. Because the philosopher guy should agree. Yes, I agree that we created the reference, so like water or H2O or molecule, these things, but the thing was always there. That's the thing that Vosh is failing to understand right now. The philosopher guy doesn't seem to understand. To be fair, this conversation is really confusing. I can pause and review from the outside, so it's easier for me to see what's going on. It's always going to be the case. But that's where the trouble is right now. He gets into that. Okay, maybe he'll figure it out.
I agree with you that species are the distinction between species is less clear than distinctions we would find in physics and chemistry. So that's why, no surprise, I'm focusing on physics and chemistry. How do we feel about the claim that gold is atomic number 79? Would you agree with that, or are you skeptical of that too?
I think that's how we refer to it. Sure. I'll take your word. I don't have the periodic table memorized.
Yeah. Well, I'm benefiting from the fact that this is a bit of a commonly used philosophical example. So that's what I'm gold, that term in English refers to a certain element that has 79 protons. It's atomic number 79. So gold has been around for a long time.
Keep in mind that like if Vosh had read that fucking dude's paper before doing this argument, we know exactly what this guy is about to talk about, right? Because in his paper he mentions this idea of how there can be a category of something that's like golden, but that doesn't necessarily make it gold. He's arguing this the vague concept thing that he's already talked about in his paper here. But Vosh is not familiar with that. Here we go.
Time. Long before the word gold came on the scene. Gold predates the word gold. So yeah, this is just supposed to be an example of a definition that's true, and we went down a rabbit hole a little bit.
What do you mean by true? If we had taken another definition, if we had created another definition to say gold, and the term gold referred to a collection of elements, so let's say gold and lead, and the term gold was something people used to refer to both, that definition would be as true as the one we use today for gold. They would have simply made the choice to include two different elements in their definition, just as you included standard water and the isotope of heavy water in the definition of water. It's just a definitional game. As long as they distinguish between the two subcategories of gold and iron with their respective atomic weights, the singular term, like how we have terms for metals, we have terms for the gases, the inert gases. Help me out, you know more than me. The noble noble gases. Yes, we invented those distinctions. We saw
the terms.
We invented the terms, yeah, because like noble gases like have certain properties that exist in the world. There's a reason why we recognize them as being what they are, and it's not just because we like randomly wanted to have them be those things. You can argue that we draw borders randomly, but like they're drawn around facts of the matter. Like there's like a factual thing that we're drawing borders around.
the terms,
Yes.
because the distinctions are only meaningful when we notice them. The universe doesn't care whether or not we think there's something meaningful or significant about noble gases versus the other stuff. We just saw the differences. And we're
There's a
like, oh,
difference.
There's a difference, though,
So we saw the differences. The differences were there.
Yes.
The differences are real.
The fact of
And
the
then we
matter
came
is
along and decided, you know what, we're going to name these differences. We're going to assign some names to these different elements.
agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm trying to remember why we started down this rabbit hole. I didn't get very far through the things you said. Oh, it's just the first thing I brought up was you said all these views are incoherent. But then we kind of clarified that what you meant was any of the popular views of women that have been proposed are vague and difficult to articulate. And then I guess I was just trying to point out that a definition might exist and be true even if it hasn't been articulated. So like rewind before humans came on the scene, I would have thought water was H2O even before anyone was around to.
Okay, hold on, fuck you. The periodic table is so universal that it is the thing most often cited that aliens don't understand it. I made that argument stream a long time ago, and all of you motherfuckers disagree with me. Rem might even come on to debate with me about it. Fuck all of you. I always said that two things that aliens would be able to probably communicate with humans would be math, like basic mathematical truths, and the periodic table elements. Everybody wanted to fight with that, so fuck you motherfuckers, okay? Who are you talking to? I'm talking to After or whatever the fucking DGG chat.
Name water or to realize its chemical essence. So I was just disagreeing with that point about how definitions work. I don't think definitions properly understood are linguistic entities. I think there are facts out there in the world.
There are
Anyway,
facts. Wait, I have to challenge that. There are facts in the world, but definitions are categorically linguistic. We create them because we identify differences in things that we see in the world. The facts of the world, there are many, the spectrum of light that we consider to be blue contains within it an infinite range of potential blue values, but we don't have an infinite number of names to describe them. There may be a set number of facts in the world, but the categories we use to separate those facts are entirely up to us and our perceptions. So another example of this would be like in terms of gender prescription. There are cultures historically that have had third genders for a long time. Often the third gender is a biological
really
male, a gender class that adopts roles that are much more similar to the biologically female.
Actually,
There
that
are
is kind of
non-human animals that do this as well. You know, it's not unique to us. And in that case, there's a separate category. And maybe clearly they felt that the categorical difference between these more feminized biological males and the regular biological males was something worth distinguishing in a gender-oriented taxonomical sense. That's not any more right or wrong than what we do. They just see different meaningful differences and apply different terms. So you can't make these objective arguments about terms. Terms may refer to the facts of the world, but we draw the borders. The land on Earth might be objective, but the borders of the nations that we build over them, those we rule on paper. We just have to be considerate of human need when we're describing what here we actually want to build.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, there's a lot I disagree with in there, but I'm trying to be selective or efficient with our time here. Maybe let me just ask you this. It sounded like in your response to me, you raised some objections to the biological view that I expressed that women are adult human females, and you brought up, well, you said, you had all these about chromosomes, and I don't think that chromosomes figure into the definition of biological sex. You also mentioned intersex people. So it sounded like you were trying to argue against the reality of males and females. But then at other times, you say, there are other cultures that have a third gender that are biologically male. And I think you might agree that there are animals that are biologically male and biologically female. So I guess just let me get clear on your view. Do you think that there are males and females out there in the world?
I believe it's bimodal. There are males and females, and most people will fall pretty solidly on either end of the spectrum. But I do feel there are a significant number of people who are closer to the middle between.
Okay, to be clear, sex is not bimodal. There are traits that can be bimodal, and that, like, for instance, not all men are 5'10" and not all women are 5'4", but like the differentiation in like traits will be bimodal. We tend to have like this curve and then like this curve, and there's a lot of overlap. But sex is generally seen as two distinctly different things, right? Possessing two different, or like one of each of the gametes or whatever, either the male spermy dude or the female eggy dude.
Sex expression.
Oh, well, if you also think that there are adults in humans, then what exactly is wrong with the definition that women are adult human females? You believe in adults, you believe in humans, you believe in females. Is it just you think there are counterexamples to this definition? Is that the problem?
My belief in the value of a definition, it should be said first, is not determined by its consistency. There are consistent definitions that are still morally wrong. For example, the Nazis grouped humans into taxonomical categories, which at times were consistent, usually because they were very blunt and lacking in nuance. They were just monstrous and unnecessary.
So now Vosh has stepped into a second argument that he's making that has to do with whether or not there's like an immorality of a definition that this guy also is, I think, a decent enough knockdown for. But, what are you gonna do?
They were suitable to the Nazis in a political sense because they allowed for the dehumanization of large groups of people. But I don't think we review them in retrospect based on their consistency. Like, oh, well, they say any of the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel are subhuman. Ah, well, that's easy to find out with the 23andMe. Of course not. So I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm only saying that my concern here, first and foremost, is not one of consistency. Even if the biological model was perfectly consistent, I would oppose it. But it's not. Because chromosomal abnormalities are all it takes to throw this up for a loop.
Now we're going back to the argument of vagueness, which is also addressed in the paper.
When you transition, you do change your sex to an extent. Not entirely, but certainly there are categories of sex that are altered. When you have chromosomes of a certain designation, it determines the hormone launches that you receive, both during puberty and in the womb. And that determines the shape your body takes, the genitalia you form, the ways in which your body develops. But if you have a trans woman who took puberty blockers before she hit puberty, then transitioned medically, you, a person who is, let's say a doctor would not call them a biological male. In terms of the risk of breast cancer, prostate cancer, a wide variety of bone and heart-related conditions, this is not a person who'd be going to the doctor and saying, yep, I'm a male, and the doctor would go, yep, your problems are male problems. So if that's the case, where does that line fall? What about people who have the XXY chromosomal abnormality, or people whose Y chromosome doesn't
it can kind of change aspects of your sex depending on
these categories are not called for, and that's why traditionally doctors have just cut off the aberrant genitalia of intersex people or try to force people into roles that best make them fit binary. It just doesn't always work.
Okay. Yes. I have watched some of your videos and I've heard your views on biological sex, and I think it's a commonly held view
I love
about
sex.
what biological sex consists in. I think it's based on a misunderstanding. I don't think that biological sex is defined in terms of chromosomes or genitals or hormone levels, and you can see that by just considering the full range of the plant and animal kingdom and how the sexes are realized across the plant and animal kingdom, and you'll see that there's no facts about genitals figuring into the definition, nothing about hormones, nothing about chromosomes. So we can talk about that a little more if you'd like and try to get clear on what biological sex really is, but I just wanted to quickly point out that in my opening statement, what I argued was on all these proposals, it turns out that not all trans women are women. On every proposal, it is false that all trans women are women. So I'm not really in a position that I need to defend the biological view. If you want to beat up on it and criticize it and reject it, okay. All I said was, if this is what women means, then not all trans women are women. I guess we agree on that. But I thought it would have been more pressing, given your views, to try to defend the charges that all those other proposals also entail, that not all trans women are women. And as far as I can tell, you haven't tried to do that yet.
Well,
So,
prescriptive view
would
is-
you like to talk about biological sex, or should we move on to something a little more relevant?
Well, the biological sex thing, if it's something you feel the need to defend, we can. I assume this is you're the belief, of course, that a woman is defined by biology.
If you were asking me, what does the word ordinarily mean?
Hold on, sorry, game time. Oh, I thought it just glitched and I didn't get the kill. Sorry.
Then I think those trans-inclusive philosophers that I quoted are correct. That is what the word ordinarily means. I
I'm
think
not
the
asking what it
dictionary.
ordinarily means. What do you think it means? What does it mean to be a woman?
What does it mean to be a woman? Well, if you were asking, what does it mean to be a computer or a television, or I'm just pointing at things in the room, I would take that question to be asking, what do those words ordinarily mean? I don't have my own private language. I communicate using a public language that we all share. And so if you ask me what a word means, and I didn't know, I might check the dictionary to see
Your
what the word
definition
ordinarily means.
is entirely informed by tradition. You're aware, of course, of the fact that the majority of Americans today believe in accepting the identity of trans people by a slim margin. In 20 years, my view will be more popular than yours. Will you switch over then? Are you going to defer entirely to what you see in the dictionary?
Then it would no longer be true that that's what the word ordinarily means.
So, okay, well then, sure, then that's fine by me. If we're here to make prescriptions, then sure. My
I haven't made
problem.
any prescriptions.
You defer
I'm
to the
not sure what
prescriptions of others. All definitions are fought for. From the definition of soil in the books of geologists to the definition of skyscraper in the book of civil engineers, everything is fought for. And I will fight for the definition, the prescriptive
So
view
noble,
that trans women are women,
Base.
because
Base
there is
fighter.
harm and inconsistency present in other definitions.
Okay, can you tell me what the definition is that you defend?
Sure. I think that woman, like the concept.
I think Vosh should have held him here to give a definition of woman. If you're attacking Vosh's, so in his paper, and he has one too, which is actually I wouldn't like posit it. He has a traditionalist view, or he calls it a traditionalist view of gender. I don't know why he didn't put that definition forward, unless maybe he's going to argue against this idea that he has a personal definition, because he's referring to that concept of private language that nobody can utter something that's not to them, because such things are private language, there's meaningless utterances. But
woman is an arbitrary and vague collection of aesthetics, values, roles.
he has to stop saying arbitrary. Arbitrary implies a randomness or a lack of purposefulness in selecting things. When we create a category, it's by definition not arbitrary. Well, unless it is by definition arbitrary, like using a random number generator or something, right? Like,
A bunch of social constructions that are typically tied to sex that just sort of float in the public conscious. They vary depending on where you are. What a woman is expected to be in the Bible Belt South is very different from what they're expected to be in like Seattle or whatever.
Hold on a second. So when you said in the Bible Belt South, there's something a woman is expected to be. Can you tell me who it is that's expected to be this way? What does woman mean in that sentence?
Well, whoever they would consider to be a woman, because women would be biologically female people.
Whoever they would consider to be a woman. And what did woman mean there when you said, like, well, let's check who they would consider to be a woman?
I already said biologically female. You don't need to prompt it. I already said it.
Vosh is mad
Biologically
because he realized he
females?
just
Oh,
fucked
adult
himself.
human females.
Well, we are talking about adult humans, I assume.
Okay, so you're saying what woman means is it's this collection of aesthetics, rules, and perspectives that are associated with women, and by women you mean adult human females.
Yes.
So this is another the performativity. Like Butler's definition of gender, I think, in this paper. It's actually so sad that Vosh has managed to. So I thought that the academic definitions given of the sex gender distinction that is his name Thompson that he addresses in this paper are actually really shit. Now I don't know if most professional philosophers just suck, or if when it comes to gender people turn their brains off. They seem like pretty easy to know. Like I feel like I could write in response to how dog shit a lot of these things are. And his argumentation, his counter argumentation, seems like pretty easy to follow, which I think is probably bad. Because if I can follow it, then it seems like really shit. But it's interesting that Vosh has managed to hop around to like almost every single shit academic definition of the sex gender divide that this guy's like getting in his paper. It truly is like a cheat sheet for how this debate was gonna go. If Vosh would have just read this one paper, we could have done this in 30 minutes off stream.
The role of woman in the social construct is one which is tied to sex. But that doesn't mean that it's prescriptively tied to sex. Or to give another example, you're going to see types of music preferences which are heavily associated with people's racial groups or nationalities. But that doesn't mean that there's an inherent prescriptive association there, only that circumstantially these arbitrary associations came to be.
No one, I don't even know what he's saying. He's just really fuck. Eventually, it was funny for a little bit, but I think I'm starting to get triggered. He manages to word vomit out like so much of nothing. Like no one is arguing that like different people can't have different preferences. Now he's digging into this biological essentialist argument almost that that Thompson argues against the idea like, well, just because you are a woman doesn't necessarily mean that you have to believe in a certain set of things or be a certain set of actions or aesthetics. But just because there are those certain set of actions or aesthetics doesn't mean there aren't women as well. Or even if we wanted to eliminate those like compulsory things for gender, doesn't mean we're creating a sex gender distinction either. Like none of these things logically follow. He's just saying so much random shit.
Or to put it another way, the type of music that you're going to hear in Thailand hit like #1 charts is pretty different from what you're going to hear like #1 charting over here in America. But that doesn't mean that people over there are biologically inclined to that music as opposed to ours. It's due to proximate bias. People in that area of the world listen to that music because that's the music they have. That's the music they have. They pass it down to other people who are around who happen to be people in that part of the world. And likewise, you have an example here of woman, a sort of broad definition, that we do prescribe to biological females. But that's precisely my argument. See, I don't know if the philosopher guy just doesn't want to tackle this because of dog shit. This concept is that Vosh is reintroducing this idea that like you're prescribing a definition. All definitions are prescriptions. Everything is a prescription. Everything open mouth is a prescription. Maybe he doesn't want to touch that because it's such a fucking weird can of worms to get into. Or I don't know. I'm kind of curious what his thoughts are on that. A libertarian here in the classical sense, I don't believe it's right to impart roles and responsibilities onto a person based on their birth genitalia. It's very weird to me. I'm not looking for an end to sex.
Like he's not even saying that. And then again, Vosh is giving one of the arguments that are knocked down in this paper. That Vosh is giving this argument: if adult female humans are adult female humans, then biological determinism is true. Respect them. Adult human females' social psychological behavior traits are inevitable, being determined by her body. Like this is just. I'll stop revisiting it. But okay, I'm glad that this came out though. I wanted to read the paper in advance to show you like even if you're willing to do like a tiniest amount, a modicum of preparation, just a little bit of preparation, it usually will pay off for conversations. Vosh reading this paper would have improved his conversation with this guy a millionfold instead of walking into arguments over and over and over and over. He's not even maintaining one consistent train of thought. He's got like 6 different lines running right now that all happen to be different academic arguments. This guy's already given knockdown arguments for his paper. So at the very least, if Vosh is familiar with the arguments or the guy's knockdowns, he could be ready to respond better. But Jesus Christ.
Biological sex is always going to be a category we have to deal with, for the foreseeable future at least. What I'm against is the idea that some arbitrary hormone washes you receive while in the womb should decide a massive category of expectations and behaviors that are assigned to you afterwards. And that's what I'm talking about prescriptively. I don't think we should be saddled with that. True identity should be self-described, which in this case I believe they are.
So this sounds like a view that I was expressing in one of the quotations I provided in my slides. It sounds like you're giving voice to a social worldview, according to which to be a woman is to, as you said in that quotation, want to internally and externally adhere to a certain set of aesthetics.
Fucking destroy, pog, owned.
Rules, perspectives, etc. That's what it is to be a woman. To want to, or to actually occupy a certain social role, or a certain social position. Or
I don't think it makes you a woman, though.
Oh, but I had asked you what your definition of woman is. What makes someone a woman? I thought you had answered that, but now we're going to get a different answer.
These go into what woman is, the concept of woman.
No,
a woman, in my prescriptive view, is simply a person who prefers to be associated with that broad range of archetypes.
Any person who prefers to be associated, right? Yeah, that's a social worldview. So what do you make of my argument that, on that definition, not all trans women will be women?
No, they want to be associated with that broad range of archetypes.
But what if they don't want to be associated with that broad range? What if you have a tomboy trans woman? What if her? Is she not a trans woman? Why? I wish the philosopher asked that.
I mean that their identity is dependent on fulfilling those roles. There are
not all
cisgender
trans women. Not all trans women will want to be associated with those aesthetics and rules and perspectives or whatever.
But they are nonetheless by choosing to refer to themselves as women.
No.
When we think of
Then
woman,
do you want to adhere to these expectations and rules and so on? I would have thought it's totally possible and probably actual for some trans women to say no thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, some women say no thanks, right? Some cis women. So then won't it follow then on this view that you're expressing that not all trans women are women?
no, because they still subscribe to the archetype. The archetype merely contains the collection of social values that we associate with women. There are cis and trans women who, for example, want to be women, but fervently reject elements of what women are expected to be. This doesn't make them any less women. I'm only saying they've still chosen to associate themselves with that archetype. Much as I choose to associate myself with the archetype of being a man, and there are roles associated with being a man that I'm not interested in adopting and fulfilling.
Okay, so there's this archetypal woman. And I guess if I'd asked you what this archetypal woman is, you would say, wears a dress and wears pink?
No,
What would you say?
It's a collection of categories. I don't think there could be one archetypal women because there are so many.
I was worried it was going to be really viciously stereotypical.
No, there can't be one woman because these concepts are arbitrary and stupid. For example,
when you say trans women subscribe to the archetype, what is the
What does that
archetype?
mean?
the
What's the
archetype
archetype?
is defined by its name, and all we type.
No, what do you mean? You can't define. That's not a definition of the word. What is the definition of flabbergasted? I mean, it is to be flabbergasted. It's defined by the name. No, that's not what I mean. That's not a definition.
To it. To give you an example, a woman, a stereotypical woman, can be a very maternal, motherly, kind, gentle person, but they can also be like a Jersey Shore, like bratty, mall hopping, selfish type. Now, those are two archetypes of woman and femininity that are completely contradictory. You can't simultaneously be.
No, you can't. That dude. I mean, it's getting boring. Hold on, I'm over it. There must be something in common, or there must be some way then that you're appealing to something. You're telling me you're giving me two entirely contradictory definitions of things. Contradictory, not just contradictory, but they're both women. Then you're appealing. Because it's funny because again, Vosh is making an argument. He's actually giving this guy's argument in this paper. Vosh is making an incredibly strong argument for sex being real by saying even though these two people have totally different gender roles on the outside, they're both still women. Well, that's interesting. You think so, Vosh? What's making them women? This is similar to the argument that this guy has given for I think the Betcher argument. We can imagine a world where the cultural roles normally assigned on the basis of sex are inverted. Females dress like men, males dress like women. Stereotypical traits and behaviors are assigned to each group. Here isn't clear how to apply the terms man and woman. Does physical sex or cultural role determine category membership? But then he gives a knockout argument to this, basically saying that like yeah, you would say there are men wearing dresses and women that are not wearing dresses. But like you're providing a stronger argument that these categories exist by virtue of saying men wearing dresses. You're applying to something else like differentiating them here. Like the social role thing that this Vosh brings like it's just not sorry.
Calm, caring, motherly, while also being, selfish, bitchy, and money grubbing. Those don't fit, but nonetheless, they're both considered archetypes of femininity. So it's about associating yourself with a collection of categories rather than representing the singular archetype of those categories.
You have a better argument? I would say that like women and male, or female and male, or woman and man, I guess. I don't know. I would be interested in talking to this guy later. There are things that I've thought about, but I can't really test them because conservatives are brain dead, so I don't really have anybody to argue against when I'm thinking of things like gender, and progressives are also brain dead, so I don't have anything to argue against when I'm talking about gender sex. For sex, I think sex is fairly easy to define. We have a binary understanding of the different like gametes related to sexual reproduction. Things that have sperm, things that have eggs, right? And then there's like usually a set of primary and secondary sexual characteristics that go along with these two individual gametes, right? I think it's generally how we do things. And I think for the most part, biologically, I think that works pretty well. I feel like gender is something a bit different because the way that we observe it and the way that we interact with it seems to be there are ways that our gender roles map onto our sex, but they can also be totally disassociated. And I don't think people would like if I were to give you like Blair White, for instance, in society, like it would be really hard to call Blair White a man. It would be hard for her to want to go into the male bathroom. It'd be hard for her to want to act like a man in terms of our social expectations of how men and women act, which would be very difficult. So it feels like gender, maybe borrowing a little bit from Judith Butler, right? That gender is like a sort of performance that we have. Gender is really sex. Now a lot of the ways we perform gender are kind of like informed by our sex, but not necessarily. That's kind of how I view like gender and sex. But gender is kind of like a performance that we have, although oftentimes it's very tied into what our sex is. But this is all separate even from trans issues. Have you talked to any professor about this? No, I haven't, which is why I think it'd be interesting to talk to this guy. I think that a gender sex distinction, I don't even think is necessarily needed to talk about trans people. That's a whole other thing, though. Actually, I would go separate. I would argue gender sex distinctions have nothing to do with trans people. I think you can have trans people with gender and sex distinctions, and I think you can have trans people without gender sex distinctions. But that's a different argument. But I don't have any conservative people to talk about this. Most of them are fucking brain dead as soon as you approach these types of topics. But yes, clearly how people feel plays some role. No, say that someone looks like a man, talks like a man, dresses like a man, but has a uterus, says they're a woman, is a woman. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It feels like in that case socially, like there's something going on where our determination of who's a man and a woman feels like there's a difference between biological fact and the gender roles. That's why I'm saying. It seems like there's a different thing going on here. Like if I were to give you a room filled with femboys or like ultra fucking feminine like crossdressers, like not like drag people, like people that are very convincingly men dressed as women, and I was like, do you feel like you're a room full of men or women? Like you might want to say man, but you have no way of knowing unless you're gonna go dick check everybody, which people don't do. We often make determinations of gender 99% of the time, or in chat's case 100% of the time, without ever seeing somebody else's set of genitals, right? So it feels like there's like a distinction here. There's something different going on here. Yeah, I would be interested in. I don't know. Destiny, do you not agree that the definition of woman is variable with culture and time? The definition of the gender of woman, the performance of that sex, or the performance of that gender, I think has changed throughout history culturally. But the sex, no, I don't think so. Sorry, we haven't finished this yet, so maybe watch this. But somebody look this. This is funny. Watch this debate with philosophy, PhD. Vosh did a great job handling the pale sophistry of that guy. For a sociology major, he has a solid philosophical foundation. If he ever gets around to reading some of the spicier thinkers, he'll be a fucking force of nature in this kind of debate. Speaking as someone who's read more philosophy, that's probably good for me. I just want to give everyone blank permission to immediately cut through whatever Gordian knots, pendants, and sophists put to it. Make them clearly define the jargon, make them give examples, make them justify the criteria in simple terms. In this case, Vosh would have been well within his rights to insist on a clear definition of woman at the very beginning of the discussion, completely reject chemistry metaphors, especially after he conjured up with a brilliant heavy water argument, and make the doctor actually sum up his argument in a couple sentences rather than gesture of a fucking PowerPoint presentation. Philosophy isn't supposed to be like this, by the way, but unfortunately the discipline is split between pedants who worship Aristotle and Kant and get trapped in some analytic cul-de-sac because of political conservatism and temperamental timidity or something. And creative thinkers who actually read and challenge the full pantheon of philosophical thought, from ontology to political economy, and can at least try to make his ideas accessible to everyone and not boring. Is this real? Thinking about it, he would demolish anyone 3 times over if even just one of us gave him 3 months worth of coaching in the history of Western philosophy. Like his biggest weakness in his argument is his lack of familiarity, making himself an arrogant amateur academics. They would easily run circles around anyone, from Kirk to today's dumbass, even pseudo-academic dipshits like alt history. Their logic is childishly misinterpreted, and their philosophy bases are so ahistorical it almost made up. Like, super simple. Define all the branches, then go through Anaximander, Heraclides, Gorgias, Plato, Aristotle, Aquinas? I think it's Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas, right? Scotus, Locke, Descartes, Spinoza, Hume, Kant, Hegel, Mill, Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, Russell, Wittgenstein, Popper, Sartre, I don't remember, and he said, since I'm assuming he already knows most of the political and later thinkers, he cited Foucault before, just to name one basic threat. Could be possible ones. Is this all psyops? I can't tell if these are psyops posts or not. I truly don't know, but okay, sorry, anyway.
So you had said a woman is anyone who subscribes to the archetype of woman. And when I said, what is this archetype, you said it is defined by the name woman, I guess.
The collection of all we associate with it. Yeah, and we associate many things with woman, very few of which I think have to do with biology. There's a whole lot of social crap on top that we kind of layer on there.
There was another quotation I didn't include where you said something like this, and a way to avoid the circularity worry with the self-ID version of a self-ID definition of woman is to say that woman is anyone who identifies as a woman and then mention the word. Don't use the word, just mention the word. Anyone who's willing to say things like I am a woman. Anyone who's willing to attribute that word to themselves. So then you avoid the circularity worry. But as I said,
I zooped around it.
Okay. Well, as I said in my opening statement, if this definition isn't circular, then whatever the definition means, it's going to exclude some trans women. And here's how it's going to work in this case. This definition just provided is going to make it so that being a woman is an English-speaking affair. So there are no women outside of the English-speaking world. You would have to be familiar with the word woman, attribute it to yourself. And so the implication is there are no non-English-speaking women, and there are no women before English came along. I find those to be pretty implausible implications.
I think that the category of woman didn't really exist in the form that it does as much as 6 months ago, let alone throughout all of human history. You know, the archetype I'm referring to, this broad collection of tropes and categories that I refer to as like the woman that women associate themselves with. You're right. It may not exist to people who don't speak English, but by the time they learn, there will be a different one. And it's different in every culture, in every neighborhood, in every society, at every point in time. It will constantly shift. I don't think there's an objective definition here.
This is true, but the problem is that Vosh is missing the point the other guy's making. The guy's making the point that if this is true, that the definition of woman is constantly shifting all these things, and if you want to believe that, then not all trans women are women. Because now you're trying to say that there is some, like, fact of the matter, what is a woman? But you have to acknowledge that if you're going to define it in any way, not everybody's going to, like, meet your threshold for a woman, most likely.
But if you're looking for some truly exclusionary stuff, I would agree that any person who was raised by wolves in the forest and had never come into contact with human society could not be described as having a gender. I think their gender would have to be some kind of recursive, it would have to be like a product of their engagement with social roles and expectations that they would have to develop, even if you could easily identify themselves.
You can also attack this on, I hate to say like logical, not logical, like inductive grounds maybe? That like, okay, sure, Vosh, do you think that if you say the definition changes every 6 months, if I show you a woman from 6 months ago, would you be able to identify her as a woman? What about from 6 years ago? What about from 60 years ago? What about from 60,000 years ago? Because that would seem to undermine his argument that like, oh yeah, like it changes every few months. Does it though? Does it really? Would you truly not be able to identify a woman from even, 60,000 years ago? You probably would be able to. So this argument probably isn't the best. Probably isn't fair.
But that's the only case I think where a human has no contact with gender roles, but they're pretty ubiquitous all over the world.
We've got to jump into the Q&A shortly, so...
Oh, goodness. Time flies when you have fun. Sorry.
Okay, well, let me just respond quickly to a couple things you said. You said it seemed like you were willing to concede that the category of woman didn't exist 6 months ago, you said?
Not this category.
Yeah, so then it sounds like you agree with me that your view does entail there are no women outside of English-speaking contexts. And in fact, you might even agree there were no women 8 months ago. So these are surprising implications to say the least.
With respect, if I may, with respect, not to get into linguistic traps here, because the concept changes, that doesn't mean that there weren't equivalents across time, culture, and society.
Well, if there are equivalents, then what do you mean when you say the concept changes? Then it feels like there's not much of a change. Now it feels like playing word games. What do you mean by the concept changes? Or if anything, if the philosophy guy is quick here, if the concept is changing, but there's still equivalents throughout all of time and history, now it sounds like you're making the strongest argument ever for there to be a more rigid definition of woman. That there is some underlying fact of the matter about what is a woman. And even though overarching concepts might change, there is going to be some underlying fact of the matter that's persistent. So now you're making an even stronger argument for the concept of woman.
Women have a concept of Frau, the Spanish mujer, whatever the fuck the Spanish term for woman is, I don't literally mean the concept, the social collection,
the word
popped into existence here. But you're right, because depending on what word you use to refer to women, whatever word you have for that, it's going to be a different collection of
Who would
words.
you be referring to there? You said whatever word you use to refer to women. Who would you be referring to there?
There, yes. Who are you referring to? That's the whole issue. That's the meaning of it. Who are you referring to? It seems like you're referring to something similar the entire time. That's the issue, right?
Well, anyone.
No.
Anyone.
Anyone? Hold on, it can't be anyone. The whole point of a category is to include some things and exclude other things. You can't have by definition, you can have a category that includes everyone, except for the category called everyone. Why would you say this? What?
No matter what word you use to refer to women as an archetype as, that will inform to an extent what you imagine women be. And this is self-evidently true. Go to India. They don't have the word woman for woman, but they have very different expectations of what it means to be a woman over there.
Do you think that there are no women in India? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have not been to India, but I personally would be pretty shocked if Indians didn't have an understanding of like male and female. Now, maybe they don't, but...
They're over here, massively so.
And they have a lot of women there. Despite the fact that the word woman doesn't exist.
Yeah, Vosh is making his argument. Even though they don't have that concept, they're still saying there are women there, right? That's the issue.
Yeah, I agree.
Wait, with respect, I feel like, I don't know how you're interpreting what I'm saying here. They don't use the term woman. They have, I don't know what the Indian term for woman is. I'm sure they
do, but yeah.
Well,
I'm sure women do speak English, but go on.
When I say...
It wouldn't surprise me if there were more English speakers in India than in the United States, actually. There probably are, but... Well, let's check. How many Indian people speak English? Oh, damn, it's actually way less than I thought. 125 million people. Wait, hold on. There's a thing that I heard a long time ago that must be fake. I thought there were more English-speaking people in China than there were in the United States. But this is saying India is the second largest English-speaking population of the U.S. Whatever I heard before must be totally inflated. It's only the elite. Yeah, it's going to typically be people in like major metropolitan areas and shit. Probably not people in rural areas. How many English speakers in China? In China, it's fewer than 10 million people. Damn, that's a fun fact that I've heard repeated a lot. It's actually completely wrong. Holy shit. Okay, well, that's good to know.
The term doesn't exist outside the definition of woman. What I'm saying is that it is a multifaceted gem that changes with time, and we see it from different facets depending on where we are and what we are. What a woman is so different to like a Southern conservative belle than it is to a progressive living in New York City. In fact, there's such different concepts in terms of the social roles involved that they're practically two different genders, honest to God.
But like, let's ask ourselves, is that actually true? If I were to go to the South and I was from San Francisco, would I have any trouble pointing out who is a woman? Would I actually not be able to do that because they're so different? Would that be the case for almost any country or culture on the planet? I don't know if that's the case. Oh, that one got fired? The Washington Post fires, but she did get fired. Thank God. Absolutely based. Oh my God. The boomerang is happening, boys. We're coming back. Hopefully we don't go too far back in the other direction.
That's all I'm referring to. So I'm not literally saying that the archetype, the range of concepts popped up into existence 6 months ago and exclusively exists in English. I'm only saying it's so multivariate, so arbitrary, so meaningless that there are a million variants of it right now, and there were a million more yesterday.
This might be...
oh God. It's just so much dog shit. It's just so much dog shit. Yeah, I wonder what this guy with the philosophy guy's thinking. I'm so curious.
A decent time to jump into the Q&A. I know that you've got another round in the chamber ready to fire.
I love yeah, sorry.
Both of you guys, I know you do, but I do want to jump into these because folks, I gotta tell you.
Vosh was like saved by the bell. Sorry, he's got to feel like so good about himself that he was like clearly has no idea what the fuck is happening in this conversation, but managed to like hold on desperately until the very end, and now like comes up with actually way better than he should have. Probably because the other guy's like a little bit nice and he's not like really all for debate, bro.
do. I tried to spam the chat and let you know we can't take any more questions. We've got a ton of questions. We have a limited time for the Q&A. These are both busy guys. We want to get them out of here at a decent time. So we're going to jump into it right now. Thanks very much. Elusive Viper says, can you identify someone whose favorite color is red without identifying, quote unquote, red as your favorite color?
Was this a question for me?
Yeah, they hadn't specified in this one.
Can you identify? Can you repeat the question? Can you identify someone?
Yep, they said, can you identify as someone whose favorite color is red without identifying red as your favorite color?
Can you identify as someone whose favorite color is red without what, having red as your favorite color?
Without identifying red as your favorite color.
Without identifying. Well, I think this is supposed to be a counterexample to my claim that there's no feature such that you have it if and only if you identify as having it. And maybe what this person is asking is, isn't this an example? Having the feature of your favorite color is red, or you, as they put it, identify your favorite color is red. Okay, so suppose we're thinking of that feature, having red as a favorite color. Is that going to be necessarily coextensive with identifying as having red as a favorite color? So no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's going to be another example, just like being rich and being funny and being tall or whatever. It is possible for your favorite color to be red and not know that your favorite color is red and not identify as having the favorite colors of as having the favorite color of I don't even know how to finish that sentence.
Stumbling. Uh-oh. Watch, got on the ropes.
Suppose you're just new to colors. You were colorblind from birth, but a surgery was performed, and now you're seeing colors for the first time. But it's just color splotches on the wall, and you don't know which color is which, but you know that one's your favorite.
Frazzled.
So your favorite color is red, but you don't know that this color is red. You don't identify as having a favorite color as red. So that would be an example to show how those two can come apart. Can I just butt in really quick and say I meant to start the debate in a more sort of ironic way and say something nice about Vosh, but then we just got straight into the definition stuff. I wanted to say that when I first got this invitation, I mean, I didn't know about this corner of YouTube or Twitch or wherever I am right now. I didn't know about it. But after watching a lot of videos in this corner of the internet, I was really heartened and encouraged by the sort of thing that Vosh is engaged in. Debating and exchanging arguments, evaluating arguments, giving objections. Sometimes, a middle-aged person like me worries about kids these days and how they're not really interested in arguments or evidence anymore. So I was just happy to see that there's this community thriving. Again, I don't even really know what Twitch is, but if that's where it is, good for you, and I'm happy you're doing it. And I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. I wanted to say that before time ran out.
I'll respond when I get the question then.
You got it. This one coming in from Finger of Doom. I think this is for you, Watch. They say intersex people are still one of two sexes because sex is defined in humans as to what gametes are produced, and every human has only produced at most one of two gametes for reproduction.
So yeah, that's just not true. You can look at any biological journal if you want.
Wait, there are humans that have produced both eggs and sperm? I thought that the hardware for doing this was separate. Can you actually produce both? Is there a genetic? Because that means you get pregnant with yourself, which would be fucking based. Oh, you little clone yourself. Can you actually produce both separate things? I saw a house episode about it.
Funny thing is that like the definition keeps receding as it keeps getting proven wrong. Like at first it was like genitalia, but that doesn't correspond perfectly to biological sex. And then it was chromosomes, but that doesn't correspond either because there are chromosomal abnormalities that correspond with like intersex. And then it's like gametes, it's like, and they keep running back. Eventually, like people who are super hard for this argument are going to settle on a definition of sex that has absolutely no utility. Like their definition of sex is going to be like, okay, here we finally found something consistent. There are only one of two possible outcomes. Whether or not like the half-life decay of this atom spun left or spun right in the exact moment the cell was fertilized, and that's the one thing that determines sex. It's like, okay, at this point, what are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. Yeah, it's just not true. But like they can believe whatever they want
Epic
about
owned by
biological sex,
Vouch.
because at the end of the day, the biological argument is more or less all the major biological journals are talking about the ambiguity of sex and how it relates to morals. Yeah, that's just not true. But like they can believe whatever they want about biological sex, because like at the end of the day, the biological argument is more or less settled. All the
It's been settled? Jesus, academic Vosh. You want to cite a single paper there claiming that all these questions related to sex have never been settled? Okay, dude.
major biological journals
Epic Vosh, ownership moment, ownage.
talking about the ambiguity of sex and how it's bimodal and so on. So I feel like at this point there are people far more qualified than I to make that argument about how much variance there is. And to follow up on that, I enjoy talking with you very much, Tom. Dr. Vargas, I should say. You seem so used.
You can call me Thomas.
Thomas. I'm so used to talking to YouTubers. It's wonderful to speak with people with a higher education, especially ones who take my argument seriously enough to quote me in their PowerPoint presentations. No, it's been a delight. Thank you for being on here.
Next up from Brenton Langle, a longtime friend of the channel, says, H2O is a symbol. Dr. Bogardus, I think that you are confusing the symbol for the real thing it refers to. All symbols and definitions are flawed, as if they weren't, they would be the thing itself and not the symbol.
Okay, that wasn't really a question, though.
Correct, you're right, that's true.
So the claim was H2O is a symbol? So,
that is true. H2O is a symbol. You have to clarify if you're referring to H2O, the concept, or if you're referring to what H2O it refers to. Are you referring to the reference, the thing itself? That is true. You have to make a distinction.
Speaking verbally, it's hard to make a use-mention distinction.
Yeah.
If the person meant, quote, H2O is a symbol, well, yeah, I agree. You mean like that symbol, H2O? Yeah, that's a symbol. But if you meant H2O, like the thing that's in this bottle, no, that's not a symbol. That's a molecule that we drink.
I just want to say, getting to refer to heavy water, the isotope of H2O as trans water, is like the highlight of this thing. That was a lot of fun.
The term H2O and mentioning the term. So we use the term when we say, there's H2O in that lake over there. We mention the term when we say H2O features the letter H or something. So I guess I don't disagree with what the person said, as long as the person meant mentioning H2O, it's a symbol. Yeah, I agree. Water has 5 letters. Yeah. With quotation marks, water has 5 letters. Yes, water has 5 letters. No, water doesn't have any letters at all. The stuff that we drink doesn't have any letters.
It's literally an isotope.
That's a pretty basic distinction, but I think it's
like an extra electron
to recognize and appreciate.
Hydrogen.
All right.
You got it. Signature Doom strikes again. Says heavy water isn't
Neutron,
an extra
whatever.
hydrogen. It's an extra neutron in the hydrogen. It's still H2O.
Yes. Okay, so I think I got that wrong if I said it was an isotope of oxygen. That makes it, is it deuterium? Did we say that? So it's an isotope of hydrogen. It's an isotope of hydrogen. So I guess it's 1 proton and 1 neutron. Is that right? Whatever. Still H2O though. Yeah. Well, I guess I need to wait until it's appropriate to respond to the biological sex stuff. So maybe I'll get a question about that. I'll just hold tight.
You got it. This one from Sid Dave says, I can answer that question. Let's see. No, they're not, no matter how many surgeries. Let's see. Okay, that's not as... Brenton Langle says H2O is not water in the same sense that the pipe and Rene Magritte's, let me know if I'm saying that wrong, treachery of images is not a pipe. You are falling for the treachery of concepts.
Yeah. Right, so I think they're referring to that painting of a pipe, and then it says this is not a pipe.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a painting. It's not a pipe. So it's doing the equivalent of mentioning a pipe, but there's no actual pipe there. So I think this is the same as the last sort of statement I got when I was told H2O is a symbol, not a molecule. Yeah, H2O is a symbol. But H2O, the stuff in lakes and rivers, is not a symbol. This is just a difference between word and object. But I can assure you I appreciate that distinction, and I hope we all do.
I'm not looking at anything that's fine.
You got this one from David Crackle. Says, if ice can be water, why can't a trans woman be a woman?
If ice can be water, which it can be, I think it is water because it's H2O, why can't a trans woman be a woman? I assume that question's for me. Well, ice is water because, come to find out, it's the same stuff that liquid water is. It's all the same stuff, just in different phases. It's all H2O. It's the same thing, just in different arrangements. That's why ice
But aren't everything,
is water.
isn't everything
Solid
just
water.
protons,
Okay,
neutrons, and electrons?
so now the question is a trans woman a woman? Well, that would depend on what
I'm
woman
just
means.
saying,
Like,
like,
we have
depending
to
on where you
check.
arbitrarily draw the line
Whatever
for
woman means,
association.
Arbitrary.
is it the case that
A little.
being a trans woman guarantees that you're a woman in that sense? And I think the reason, as I said, this is such a persistent philosophical puzzle is it turns out that on all the views that are sort of being discussed in the literature,
Yes.
the answer is no. It doesn't turn out that all trans women are women. Whatever woman means, it's going to be possible for someone to identify as a woman while being assigned male at birth, but not meet that definition of woman.
I feel like that wasn't a problem.
You got it. This one for Vosh. Made by Jim Bob says, if the term woman is a construct, doesn't that mean, quote, trans women are women isn't actually true and is just a construct itself?
Something being a
everything's
construct and being true aren't mutually exclusive. Most things that we say when we're referring to interpersonal interactions are only true in a constructed sense, but I still think they're true. Otherwise, I mean, what does it mean for a person to be tall? There's no set definition of what percentage or what, like, how many orders of magnitude above the average height of a given type of person, a given type of area. Like,
Tall is
there's no
comparison.
just because something's
It's so
constructed doesn't mean
weird.
it's not true. You can say a person's 7 feet tall and be true as hell to that, but finding a concrete definition, a non-constructed definition of tall is not something you're going to be able to do. So there's nothing wrong with something being socially constructed. I just think we should be aware of how much power we have to rearrange these terms as we see fit. That's not playing God. That's what we've always done. We've always done that forever. It's all we can do. We made language, I just think that we should use it responsibly.
You got it. Singer Doom strikes again. This one for you, Vosh, says, sex is the reproductive condition of an organism. In humans, this is achieved via gametes, and there are only 2 gametes in humans that leads to reproduction. Chromosomal aneuploidy, which meaning whether there's a lack of chromosome or an extra chromosome compared to usual, is irrelevant, they say.
So keep switching up the definition of what sex is. It was all chromosome years ago. No, again, like the biological community has made its mark on this. The idea that sex is purely binary and not bimodal is just not something taken seriously.
I wish he wouldn't say that without. I think you need to cite at least one author in the field. You're going to say something like that because you're making a pretty astounding claim, right? I think the professor's trying really hard to be amenable. He's trying to be friendly. I think you should push him. Like, when you say that's not taken seriously at all, what do you mean by that, Vosh? Like, give me like one paper that you're referencing or something. Like,
in studies of this effect. So it seems quite silly. Look, again, like even if you could like 100% male female
amicable?
differentiate,
Sorry, no, amicable. It's not amicable. Not amenable.
Amicable.
Amicable.
you could make it, so flatly, unchangeably, biologically male and female with nothing in between. And I would still say what I say. It's not really relevant to my arguments. It's only the fact that you're wrong gives credit to the argument that the biological.
Wait.
Amenable.
No, this is a word too. Fuck you. And yourselves.
Differentiation is inconsistent at best and quite harmful as well. Also, talking about gametes. Like anyone looks at a person's gametes when they're trying to gender a person. Come on, that's always been the silliest argument, right? They start going back and forth. First, it was what genitals are like, you have tits or not, or what your hair looks like, and then it goes further and further in. I'm telling you, it's going to be the half-life, the radioactive decay, that spin that you're going to get, and that'll determine it. We'll just judge we'll decide whether people are cis or dresses based on that spin.
Made by Jim Bob says, Vosh, can someone with Benjamin Button disease, you guys namely like aging backwards, claim an age inconsistent with birth date, but consistent with their apparent biological age?
I don't entirely know what that means, but if this is a question of like being trans age or whatever, keep in mind we're talking about magic here. I mean, you would have a person who's like what, 5 years old but has every imaginable a trait associated with an 85-year-old or something. I have no, I gotta tell you, I don't know how the legal system or the philosophical community would handle the existence of such a person. I imagine if they had the knowledge and wisdom and experience of an 80-year-old, even if they were only 5 years old, they'd probably be treated as like an 80-year-old because they look and act like one. I don't really know that. Yeah, when that happens, okay, you can try to stump me.
Okay.
You got it. This one coming in from Raymond Ryder. Appreciate it.
I think they all hate me. Wait, I've already clicked on this. What is this?
Wow.
Oh, wait, it's
Says, Vosh, is it the case that you're engaging in an ameliorative project when you mentioned normative standards for definitions? Isn't this just shifting the subject?
I love to ameliorate the conjugated definition of the superlative. Wait, what was it? I can't tell.
Oh no. When I initially listened to this, I thought this was a Vosh meme. It was a joke dono. But I don't think this is a meme. It's actually the ameliorative inquiry that this guy brought up here relating to or actually it might have been a Vosh meme. I don't know. Was it actually a reference to when the guy talks about this in the paper, or do you think it was a dono meme? I'm not actually sure. I don't know.
If that was a real question, if it was making fun of how I talk, which either way fair.
I can explain it if you want as a sort of question.
It was an actual question. Whenever I hear the word ameliorate, I see people making fun of me because I use that word the way most people use Wait, James, can you repeat it? I just need to hear it again. I'll take more
It's
seriously.
the first time I've ever seen ameliorate, or in this case,
It's a technical term from the literature. I'd be happy to just tell you what it means if you want.
No, I know what it means. I just wasn't listening to the question because I assumed I was listening for like.
I know what it means.
funny
That's
jokes
what I
response.
they said Vosh seems to be engaging in an ameliorative project when he mentioned normative standards for definitions. Isn't this shifting the subject?
No, I don't think there are any types of other arguments that you can make when it comes to definitions. I think that at the end of the day, even when you're making descriptive arguments about definitions, you're ultimately making a prescriptive statement that we should adhere to the commonly accepted descriptive statement. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
What?
After all, these are things that we construct.
These are things that we ameliorate.
It's a little bit like slavery, right? Like people make arguments for and against it, or at least they used to. Well, they still do, but they did more in the past, But if a person's only statement on the subject is slavery exists for X reasons, even though that would be a descriptive argument, if that was all they contributed to the discussion, it would still serve the role of a soft prescriptive argument in favor of the institution. Because when something exists and has the capacity to be changed, an acceptance of and passive defense of the purpose of such a system is considered to be a kind of soft prescriptive argument for it. So of course I'm not saying it's all slavery.
Vosh ameliorated slavery in this debate.
You got it.
No
And then, Dr. Bogardus, are you saying that in the specifically the word ameliorative is a concept or term from the philosophy of gender?
Ameliorative inquiry is a little phrase that has a very specific meaning in this philosophy of gender literature. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do you want me to tell you what it means?
I'm curious.
Okay. Yeah, it's just it's sometimes called conceptual engineering, and it's the project I described when I said like, hey, we've got this biological definition. Even trans-inclusive philosophers agree that's what the word has historically meant. But then when I said like they don't like that, they don't recommend it. They think that we should use the word woman to express a different concept. And when they're deciding which concept to express with the word woman, they call this this is ameliorative inquiry. It's a kind of inquiry or attempt at coming up with an analysis that is meant to make the world a better place, to ameliorate injustices. And so there are explicitly moral inputs in the project. They're asking themselves what concept would do the most good in the world. And so I think Vosh is engaged in this sort of project. But
Yeah, it's $99 switch up. Ricardo Franco. Felicia Sonmez got arguments on it. I'll unplug my nose.
The technical term from the literature. So the worry is, by doing that, by self-consciously using an old word to express a new concept, you're changing the subject. So feminism was about the cause of women, adult human females. But now we're just using the word woman and expressing a new concept, maybe the social role view or the self-ID view or something like that. And so we're not talking about women anymore. We're talking about something else. We've changed the subject. So this is a common worry about the whole conceptual engineering project. We'll just be changing the subject. But I think that's, just for what's worth, I think that's the least serious worry. I think the more serious worry is all the definitions that have been proposed are trans-exclusive.
You got it. And this one from Mr. Saxiki says, Dr. Bogarts, what is your own definition, though, of woman? And by your logic, it can't be cultural, nor social, nor plastic, nor prescriptive.
More plastic. Oh, wow. So again, if you just ask me what is my definition, I would say I don't speak like private language. I speak a language shared by a community, and so I think the question is just what does this word ordinarily mean? What has it meant for the history of feminism up until at least the second wave? What did it mean? And again, trans-inclusive philosophers agree, ordinarily, historically, traditionally, it's meant adult human female. And I'm just going to use this opportunity to say what it is to be female and what it is to be male. So I agree that if you ask people what is biological sex or what is it to be male or what is it to be female, you'll often get from ordinary people answers in terms of genitals or chromosomes, or maybe hormone levels, or maybe like stereotypes. I don't know if you watched that Matt Walsh documentary, but he asks people, what is it to be, and you get these sorts of definitions in terms of genitals, stereotypes, and so on. But as we briefly discussed during our little back and forth, if you accept that sexual reproduction occurs across the animal and plant kingdom and has been going on for a very long time, longer than Saturn has had rings, it turns out, longer than Polaris, the North Star, has existed. This is a very old sort of strategy that organisms have used to reproduce. You will realize that genitals are not required. I'm told, I haven't actually checked, but I'm told that a lot of male birds just lack external genitals entirely. There's no particular sort of chromosome structure that you need in order to be male or female. If you just think about how plants do it, it's super complicated. Think about how a platypus does it, it's very, very different from how we do it. Hormone levels aren't required.
How can he defer to public definitions when he's using
organism that
hyper
reproduces sexually is something called, I think it's pronounced placozoa or something, placozoa. And it's only a couple thousand cells.
He's going for a hyper-specific definition that nobody uses when they think of woman, but then he's like, I just defer to
some of them produce sperm, some of them produce eggs. That's all that biologists have ever meant by male and female. Now I agree that ordinary people have been confused about what it means to be male and female, and sometimes they're confused by a sort of chauvinism about our own species.
How can they be confused?
But if you just think about what biologists mean when they study other organisms, when they say of a flower and plant, here are the male parts and here are the female parts, they are talking about gametes. And when they say males produce sperm, females produce ova, they mean the same sort of thing that they would mean if they said hearts pump blood, kidneys filter waste. They mean when functioning properly. This may be interfered with due to age, disease, injury, etc. But when functioning properly, that's what happens.
Wait, I have to jump in briefly. How can you defer to traditional definitions when using one that you have to correct the majority of people on? The majority of humans, when asked what it means to be a man or a woman, are not going to give the definition you just provided. They're, like the common definition was the one you were referring to earlier, the traditional one, the one you use in light of or in absence of a prescriptive one. But now you're making a prescriptive statement that maybe 1 in 1,000 humans would even get in the ballpark of. And you can't even defer to scientific definitions either, because the science on this matter, if you go to American Scientific or Nature.com, don't agree with you. You're deferring to a definition that is not scientifically accepted or commonly accepted. So why earlier were you talking about how you just defer to the commonly accepted one? And you said that you don't want to weigh in on this topic what it means because you just go with what's commonly accepted. That's not the case at all. It's not commonly accepted. What it means to be a woman is literally one of the most hotly discussed topics today. It's hugely contentious.
Not between 99% of people, though,
what honor means, and you're like, well, I go by the historical definition of honor, but there is no single historical definition of honor. Certainly not one used today. It varies massively. It feels like you're trying to assume the legitimacy of the common definition when the one you use is used neither commonly nor specifically by scientists.
Oh my God, Vosh moment!
I think this is a good point, Vosh, and this really brings up something that we disagree very deeply about. Namely, I think when you use the word definition, what you really mean is like the conception that people have in their minds when they use a word. So if I were to ask someone, what does male mean? They might say XY chromosomes or something like that. And you say that's their definition. But I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right use of the word definition. I would have thought that you don't look towards their conceptions, the sort of associations they have in their mind when they use a word. And you don't even look at the way people use words because it's possible for a word to be systematically misused. What you should look at is what the word actually refers to. It might be commonly misused and people might have mistaken conceptions about what it is. But the true definition
no shot, it goes across the
word. The divine definition, like all the people are wrong. The science.
We do investigation. Let me give you an example. If you asked Aristotle what is water, he might have given you his conception and he would have said something like it's an element, although he would have said it in Greek. Yeah, and it might have been possible. Yeah, it's probably possible that some people have systematically misused the word water if they were unwilling to attribute it to ice. But here's how we figured out what water is. We did some chemistry, and we investigated the lakes and the rivers and the ice, and we found out, oh wow, turns out water's not an element, it's a molecule, it's H2O. We did something similar with biological sex. We noticed this.
Water's not a molecule, it's an element? Maybe he's misspeaking? I don't understand what the point of this is.
Lakes and the rivers and the ice, and we found out, oh wow, turns out water's not an element, it's a molecule, it's H2O. We did something similar with biological sex. We noticed this.
Oh no, wait, he said the opposite. Water's not an element, sorry, no, I'm just kidding. He ameliorated that statement, just kidding.
Interesting distinction in nature, which I think you yourself acknowledge. There's this phenomenon of sexual reproduction, and we get these two subtypes within a lot of species. Some of them produce sperm, some of them produce ova, at least when functioning properly.